Hello, and welcome to episode 113 of Flix and a Six. I'm one of your hosts, Anthony Costanzo. With me, forever and always, the man, the myth, the Sandman, Alessandro Bielsi. Say hello, Al.
Somehow I managed to spell barrel wrong.
Perfection. Making his encore for the first episode of the year, Mr. Gary Bear Gorecki. Say hello.
What's up, y'all? I'm looking at this uncut opal. I think it's worth $1 million.
On this week's episode, we recap the best of 2019, give you our Star Wars rankings, and touch on some other news and nuggets, all before diving into our flick of the week, Uncut Gems. But first, Al, what are you and I drinking?
One of these days, maybe the next time, I guess somehow you and Gary are going to have to get on the same page, and I'll get the wrong beer. No, but it'd be nice for all three of us to be on with the same beer.
We can make that happen.
And admittedly, we've gotten lucky with a lot of our guests where we've been able to have two of the people in the same room. Brian's joined you, Dominic and Gianna have joined me. But all three of us are in three separate tri-state area states. So it's a little bit hard to do that. So we have a Kentucky Coffee Barrel Cream Ale. Let's see, what do we got here? It has Centennial hops, tasting notes of coffee, grain, toffee, and oak. I can't read this. Oh my god. Cream ale with natural flavors aged in oak bourbon barrels. 5.5% alcohol by volume. Let's take a sip, and then I'm going to read from the box.
Sounds good. This smells amazing.
It really does. I actually cheated, and I tried this from the batch when I first bought it. And I was like, yep, we're doing this for the show because it's so fucking delicious.
So, fun fact, better than their bourbon.
Yeah.
like the state of Kentucky?
No, like this place.
Them's fighting words.
Yeah, right? Right. It smells delicious. It looks gorgeous.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It tastes so good.
Their beer's pretty on point. I feel like I've enjoyed most of them.
I know Dominic likes them a lot. I know he brought one for the pumpkin beer taste.
One, yeah, for sure. That was good. They have a couple. They have one. Oh, the Kentucky Cream. I think they have like one that's just like not the coffee one.
Yeah.
And then they have like their cream versions of those extra ones. It's really I do like their beer a lot. I
saw this on the rack in the store. I think me and a friend of the show, Alex, friend of Gary as well, Alex.
He's an okay guy.
That's how we know Gary.
What are you just like, whoa.
Whoa. Friend is a strong word. Well, that's the only reason I know Gary, so it seems like it's safe to say he's friends with both of us.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so we were having a little football Sunday, and I saw this in the store by his house, and I was like, well, Kentucky makes pretty good beer. This like Lexington Brewery, I think, right? The Lexington Company, Brewing and Distilling. Their beers are really good. I know Dominic really likes them. And Coffee Barrel Cream Ale sounded ridiculous. So I was like, oh, let me try this out. And I remember cracking it open much the same way you did. And I was like, oh, I didn't know what to expect. But that's pretty damn good.
It's in your face.
It smells like one thing and tastes like something completely different. And both things are great.
Right.
Because it just smells like pure coffee.
Lovely. The also very, very pretty bottle art. I'm a fan of that.
Yes.
Beautiful etchings on the bottom.
But let me read you a little bit more about this beer. The Kentucky Coffee Barrel Cream Ale. The brewers at Lexington Brewing Company took a traditional cold-conditioned cream ale brewed with flaked corn and added our own Haitian coffee to the mix. After resting in fresh bourbon barrels from some of Kentucky's premier distillers, Kentucky Coffee Barrel Cream Ale comes a sessionable beer packed with flavor. Big, bold notes of coffee on the nose and palate give way to a smooth finish of bourbon grains and oak. Subtle notes of vanilla and caramel complement this beer from time spent in the barrel. So the nice thing about this beer is every one of those things I smell or taste. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't, and I'm like, this feels like I'm missing something here.
You're just throwing words around.
Right, yeah. Pairing suggestions, and I do so love when beers offer pairing suggestions. We've only got about 4 or 5 of those on the show so far. Pairs well with sweet foods like chocolate cake or sweet cinnamon dishes, citrus fruit glazes on pork or fish, and anything with bacon.
Anything with bacon.
When we open our brewery, I think that we should put pairing suggestions on the beer, but something ridiculous, like not real ones, like horse or something of the like. Pairs best with Gary, and really
if
just
you
like
can catch a Gary in the wild.
I taste good on my own, baby.
I thought you were going to say that I'm steeped in so many beers myself, you don't need a beer paired with me.
That's exactly what I meant.
Oh my god, that's
Sorry, I didn't
awesome.
mean to steal your thunder.
What
are you
basically,
drinking?
I'm a living, breathing rum ham.
Rum ham!
Well, Gary, what are you drinking?
So, I've got a little bit of the Troganator from Trogs Brewery.
Delightful experience
I'm
always.
pretty sure they're from Connecticut.
Definitely in Pennsylvania.
Oh, they're in, okay. Well, that saves me a lot of time.
Amazing.
I like when, an American brewery will take on a European style, like a Doppelbock or a double or a triple even. I think those are just good styles of beer, and when you go into most liquor stores, it's just all IPAs and stouts pretty much, and then Miller Lite, Pilsners, and whatnot. So I'm just happy that, I can get European styles year-round. Even if you don't like a Pilsner or a lager, you like something a little darker, but without going all the way to a stout or anything like that. Omegang has lots of doubles and triples, so does Allagash does a triple as well. So, yeah, this is a fine beer, good style, 8%. Sign me up.
Now, I have a question for you. Now, every time that you talk about something being made in America, do you automatically go into that impression of Sam Elliott?
Yeah.
Ed, did you hear that?
Yeah. That was
He
actually
goes-
pretty great.
Right?
Oh, there's the rocket.
Yeah, well, I thought you were doing like the chorus commercial. You're like, what I like in an American-made beer, European styles. And I was like, where did that come from? I've never heard you do a Sam Elliott impression.
That man can slow down and lower his tone so much that I think he can just stop his heart if he wants to.
Oh, nice. He's got that. Didn't James Bond do that? James Bond did that in the beginning of A Die Another Day, right?
Yes, he
Didn't he
stopped his heart.
fake his own death by stopping his own start and then restarting it again?
Shall we get into some news and nuggets?
Yeah, we got a lot of them, which is why I have a second beer keyed up for the movie portion, because the news, notes, and nuggets is going to be an experience.
Nice. I'm going to start off with some crappy stuff right here.
Okay.
Well, really, what's just one crappy thing. There's a Grudge movie coming out called The Grudge.
It's already out.
Is it out? Okay. So
Yeah.
It is already out.
Okay.
I went through the same experience as you. I saw the trailer on TV, and I was like, oh, when does that... Oh, it's out yesterday? What?
I was reading about this, and I wrote down my own explanation of it, just so that I could... Because I needed to understand... I didn't understand what was going on. So The Grudge is a sequel to the remake taking place during and after the 2004 remake, and has the same name. Because why not? Why even try?
The sequel to Halloween is Halloween, baby.
Yes, they did it. That wasn't good either.
So, eat it.
See,
man.
the thing is, I never saw it, but I feel like, and maybe Gary could correct me because I know horror movies is his thing, wasn't the original remake of The Grudge with Sarah Michelle Gellar reviewed pretty well?
Generally speaking, yeah. I mean, people liked it, sold enough for the time, and
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was considered a fairly decent, horror movie.
yeah, I mean, there were a bunch of sequels, I think, like a 2 and a 3 at least, but those never did anything, so just the original Japanese version, and then the Sarah Michelle Gellar version, and somehow here we are. But
give me
apparently
like a colon and a subtitle, or like a 1.5. I'll even take like a Lion King 2.5 type thing. You know what I mean? Like just anything to differentiate the two.
I just realized that I really wish that Sarah Michelle Gellar had added Prinz to her name too, so it was Sarah Michelle Gellar Prinz, because that would be so annoying to say.
4 names. That's one horror movie. That's one horror movie. The other one, it's not a horror thriller. I'm more excited about Quiet Place Part 2. Trailer has dropped.
No.
You're not interested in that? First one was tremendous, in my opinion.
Was it?
Yeah, I had a bad experience.
Yeah, you did have a bad experience. So, Al, here's the thing. We are going to do this movie at some point.
I know.
You are going to have to actually watch it with subtitles, though. You're going to have to understand what's happening. Because that was really a drag when you didn't.
Yeah. I don't know. It did make for an interesting experience going into the episode, being like, I'm so frustrated. I did feel like it forced me to watch it in a certain way because I was trying to figure out what was going on. It was like watching a foreign language film on mute without subtitles, which, focuses in on what's actually going on to a certain extent, despite knowing nothing about what's going on. Well, the thing is, it's not a super complicated movie, right?
No.
Be quiet or die. And also one of them is deaf and one of them is pregnant. So, it is what it is. It did also mean that I was so frustrated that, again, I laughed when, spoiler alert, Jim from The Office screams ridiculously and gets immediately murdered. I will probably watch the second one. I'm not going to be happy about it, but I know you and Damien really liked it, and we'll probably have to have Damien on for that one. Absolutely. That'll be his return episode, I guess.
I think so. He's only on one, right?
I think that's the only one he's done, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to get him on again. I'm excited for that. I think also it's got, Cillian Murphy doing Cillian Murphy things, and I like it. So.
I didn't even know he was in it. I didn't get to the trailer. I just completely forgot.
He's quiet or creepy in everything he's in, sometimes both, and true. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, but he's also sometimes Irish, and sometimes he wears a scarecrow mask.
Sometimes he's just shivering.
Sometimes he's got a great mustache in a 70s movie.
So versatile. That's it for horror movie news. That's all I had.
I have some new stuff announced or on the horizon, so we can bang through those real quick.
Let's do it.
Knives Even Further Out is going to be coming out at some point. But officially greenlit, I think, right? I know Rian Johnson said he's working on it.
He wants to have the sequel in production within the next year, and Daniel Craig wants to be back in. That's all.
It's nice to hear Daniel Craig actually actively excited for a role, because I feel like Spectre almost killed his soul, and I was afraid he was never going to want to be in anything. I assumed he would continue working, maybe less, but I assumed he would continue working. But I was afraid the light died inside of him.
He talked a little bit about it on the red carpet for the Golden Globes, and he was just like, when you see a script like this, he's like, you take it. He's like, it's perfect. And I was like, good man.
I'm glad that he's actually actively excited for that role, because I know that he'll bring his A game again. Right. And he looked like he had fun with it last time.
Don't you just want to be having as much fun as he was having playing that character? All the time? That movie was fantastic.
Garrett, did you see Knives Out?
I did. I loved it. It's different. I guess it would be more of an anthology, so it would be a different case, but it's still taking his character.
Yeah, I hope they don't necessarily...
making a mystery.
Yeah, I hope they do it like... what's it called? Similar to, because, like we said, it's similar to Murder on the Orient Express to a certain extent. I hope they do it as, a series of different adventures. They don't need to bring any of the rest, even though the rest of the cast is great.
I mean, I don't need Lakeith Stanfield standing around doing nothing for 2 hours, which is interesting because we just watched a movie where he does a lot of stuff in 2 hours. So I thought it was kind of a waste of Lakeith Stanfield in terms of bringing back anybody else, but obviously that story has been told.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I liked the detective from the film. I like Daniel Craig. I think it's fun. He did another Southern accent in the, what's the Channing Tatum movie? Yes, and that was another time where he had fun after Spectre, so...
Well, that's what I think he just wants to do funny Southern accents for now on.
Good. Great.
I haven't seen Logan Lucky. That's still on my list, though.
Oh, I thought you did see it. I know we both wanted to do it when it came out, and neither of us got to it at the time, but I thought you saw it a few months later.
No, I didn't get to.
Okay, so moving on from Knives Even Further Out, which is what I'm going to submit to Rian Johnson. He seems pretty active in responding to people on Twitter, so I'm going to submit that and hope he takes it.
Knives In.
Knives In works too, but I like Knives Even Further Out.
Yep. Knives Outer?
Knives Outer. So New Mutants. No, seriously, New Mutants is coming out. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that you said you had some interest in that. I heard they dropped a new trailer, but I heard that it was basically the same trailer we've already seen.
Pretty much. It's been pieces of a little bit more jump scares in this one, but it's the rest of Fox's vision, and I'm ready to give them a couple more bucks for one more movie, and move on.
I am curious by that because Fox itself didn't seem like it really liked it, and then obviously with its sale to Disney, it seemed like it was finally going to be dead forever. So the fact that Disney gave it its blessing is interesting to me. Not to say that makes it automatically good, because it very much might not be. But I'm curious to see that. I just assumed this was a movie we would never see. Despite the fact that it was basically done. They did a whole shoot, and then they did a whole lot of reshoots. So like they have more than enough footage to actually physically put the movie out.
They really did. It was done. The Disney is printing money at this point, so I always believed it was going to come out in some fashion, whether it be Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever. I'm glad it's getting a theatrical release. And, if we're going to put our tinfoil hats on, which I think we all should right now, this movie and Dark Phoenix not doing well only benefits Disney going forward anyway. So it really doesn't matter. And I think it even goes further to Dark Phoenix being pushed back from its original date. It was going to come out before Captain Marvel. It wound up coming out after Captain Marvel, and the ending was changed. So all I did was taken what was given to me. I think there was something to the negotiation at the time, and you can disagree with me. Just say I'm crazy, but I definitely think Disney had these movies pushed back from the Fox slate on purpose. And, this is after the merger anyway, so Disney will just get in whatever profits for free, pretty much, because they didn't pay for the movie. So,
yeah, that's probably true. Anything else on that before I move on to the next bit?
Good to see Stranger Things and Game of Thrones coming together. What's it? William or Billy? What's his? The older brother of Will Byers. So it's you guys don't do the Stranger.
No, I do.
I was like Anthony. Okay. I don't.
Billy was the creep show, wasn't he?
Yes, you're right. So it's not just the older brother. I think he's a good actor.
Why can't I remember his name though? There's I don't know. There's not a ton of characters. Hang on,
because I think it was like a double name sort of deal where he's William
Jonathan
or something. Jonathan. There we go.
There's the guy. Yeah, I like him. He's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really care about this movie, but I'll see it.
Okay, that's probably all we need to know about that topic for now. Now on to some casting news. Thor is trying to cast Christian Bale for Thor: Love and Thunder, which I think is interesting. I didn't really see Christian Bale going back to superhero movies so soon, or ever really. So I find this to be interesting. Your guys' thoughts?
It doesn't. I don't really care. Is he going to be a bad guy? What's he going to? I don't really. It doesn't mean anything to me that they're trying to get him in the movie.
Oh, I mean, I guess I assumed you would have some level of excitement. You like Taika Waititi, you like Thor, and you like Christian Bale.
No. I'm lukewarm on Christian Bale. He's fine. He's good in a lot of things, and he's just okay as Christian Bale and everything else. And put him in. I don't need to know anything about this movie. You already have my money. Just
okay.
I mean, I know you love Dark Knight and that whole trilogy. I know you love The Prestige, so absolutely. I assume that you had some sort of love.
This is more of a Nolan love than a Christian Bale love, but...
Well, I'm just saying it's a lot of Christian Bale on screen, and you love the movie, so I assume that meant you had some, at least, like for him, you know?
I do love Taika, so whatever he wants to do, he can do.
So the only bit of news I have on this for the moment is with Waititi citing the comic The Mighty Thor as inspiration for his next Thor movie. It could be that Bale will be playing a villain from that series, such as the evil businessman Dario Agger, who transformed into a powerful Minotaur.
Okay.
The Mighty Thor is part of a larger Thor saga where Gore the God Butcher is the overarching villain, so that character is also a possibility.
I want that clip of you saying a mighty Minotaur and then Gary going, okay. Just out of context. It's perfect.
So you're gonna need to clip that 3 seconds, and that will be our preview in the tweet for this account.
Just alive looking in the Marvel Studios boardroom. Oh, all right. Minotaur.
Now I get it.
On the heroic side of things, Bail wouldn't be a bad fit for the fan favorite hammer wielder Beta Ray Bill, or
Yes.
the brave Thor's half brother.
Give him a horse face. I'd sign up. I don't know. I mean, Christian Bale's great. This is great. This seems to be the most experimental Marvel project so far, considering they're already getting Natalie Portman back to play the Jane Foster version of Thor in some capacity, or at least that's the idea. That's what they came out on stage and said they were going to do.
It's a little weird that they just came right out and said that, right? Wouldn't you feel like you would want to hold on to that mystery for a while?
We've seen him. We've seen it. We've done Fat Thor at this point. So we've gone through all the versions of Thor. I think the most uninteresting part of the first, or most of the Thor movies probably was Thor up until Ragnarok.
Yeah.
1 and 2 are more of the lore, and
3 is the Thor.
Yeah, just Loki doing scenery, and they got Anthony Hopkins somehow.
I think they should bring Hayden Christensen in for a small cameo where he gets clubbed with the hammer.
Thank you.
No, I'm saying I was surprised when they came out on stage to announce the movie, and then I was surprised that they came out and announced that Natalie Portman was back. And then I was even more surprised that they came right out and said, yeah, she's going to be Thor now. I was like, save that for the first trailer, maybe? Like, oh, shit, that's where you're going with this? Like, I was just surprised they spoiled the surprise that early is really what it's going for.
I still think it's going to be a wow moment, like at the end of the trailer or whatever, when she puts her hands up and then the hammer just flies into frame, especially after Endgame, where we establish that more people can wield the hammer and stuff like that.
All I'm going to say is, you remember when Captain America Winter Soldier was coming out and they put the trailer and he catches the shield?
Yeah.
They didn't tell you that when they announced
On
the movie.
rooftop.
This is what I'm saying. Why would you spoil that in the announcement of the movie? Just wait till the trailer and then you have that oh shit moment and it's like, oh shit.
You're probably right. Just at this point, I mean, with
that's all I was going for. It doesn't have to be anything deeper than that. I was just surprised they came right out and said it. It's like, oh, like maybe you want to tease it before the movie comes out, but like fuck, like give that to me in a trailer, and I'm gonna be like, oh shit, I'm gonna forget about that for 2 years.
Just seems like everything's out of the bag at this point after Endgame. So I mean, all bets are off, and it really doesn't matter. They have all of our money. We all went to see Far From Home, didn't we? So either way, I get where you're coming from, but
it's not a big thing. Like, I'm not mad. I'm just surprised.
I think it's just Taika being Taika, honestly.
Yeah. I have some news for Anthony that he may have already seen, but I know he's going to love. And that's that Hans Zimmer is going to be scoring the new Bond movie.
Whoa.
Oh, snap. Okay, yeah, I'm in.
I meant to text you that earlier today.
That excites me.
I'm going to hope he didn't see it, and I'm going to unveil it on the show, and I know he's going to love it.
Oh, it's so good. I'm so excited. All that means is that I have another album to get me through like a month of work.
Yeah.
I just listen to Hans Zimmer sometimes while I work and just go into like a really dark place. That's what...
Is it the dark ominous tones?
Yeah, bong.
I think that's an interesting two things. One, it's interesting that they chose to go with Zimmer. 2, it's interesting that they're doing it so late in the process because apparently he's going to have to scramble. They're a little worried he's not going to finish.
Oh, he's always got stuff ready to go.
Well, in the news story that I can't find right now and don't care to look for, they mentioned 2 other people who are frequent collaborators of him that they need to like bring on probably to help him get through all the work in time for it to, be ready, considering they already gave us a trailer and the movie comes out in a few months.
That's a very valid reason, but I mean, the score is the last thing you have to throw in. Even a lot of the time,
he can say no if he can't do it.
It's to the benefit of the composer that he gets to see the footage beforehand. Then he can just be like, oh, "Okay, James Bond is sweaty and he's holding a gun and." Bring up the strings,
I still can't get over the fact that Zimmer is not doing Tenet.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense to me. He's done every other Nolan movie.
Yeah. Well, he maybe just wanted to try something different. He's changing it up.
Like John Williams not doing Star Wars with like Lucas.
It's like it sounds like, it's funny though, because the music so far at least sounds like funky Hans Zimmer. So that's why.
I mean, did he literally do every Nolan movie, like even Memento, or I mean after the fact? Okay, all right. I don't know.
I could be wrong, but I thought so.
Yeah. No, this is a verifiable fact, and we're a movie podcast, and I feel embarrassed.
I get it, Gary. I'm playing fast and loose with facts here, and you don't like it. Just say it to my face.
If you just verbatim repeated, "You're playing fast and loose with the facts," and I don't like it. I have a quick thing to jump in with here. I came across this tweet from Anders Holm. Is there another "I'll be back" type of catchphrase that crosses movies and follows actors? Follows an actor. One actor. Can you come up with any of those?
Yes.
Guns is the last one that came to mind. Lots of guns.
Yes, and only because I was listening to Cinephobe the other day with Fred Claus, and there was a line that Vince Vaughn said, and I don't remember the line now, but it's another line that he said in... Oh, it's "people helping people," I think was what it was. And it was the scene where he's getting jerked off under the table, and then the scene where he says it too during Fred Claus, and I know that because I was listening to the episode like 2 nights ago. Even though I've never seen Fred Claus, I just listened to the episode because that's quickly becoming one of my favorite podcasts because it's hysterical. I don't know. Did you get to listen to any of Rule of Two yet?
I just listened to the Freddie Prinze episode.
Okay, so that's part of it's like half now of the Cinephobe, like under the Cinephobe show. The principle of it is they take a movie that's either horribly reviewed on Rotten Tomatoes, or they take a movie that one of them liked from the past, but they're not sure if it holds up. And after all three of them have to sit down and watch it, they talk about the movie, and at the end, they say file or phobe. Is it a movie they like and will watch again, or a movie that they hate and never want to talk about again? And they did Fred Claus this week, and someone said, yeah, it was weird that like Vince Vaughn had the exact same line. I think it was "people helping people" was the line for both movies.
Nice.
Otherwise, I would have had 0% chance of answering that question in the affirmative.
A couple of the ones that people like wrote in with were was "wow" from Owen Wilson. I feel like that's a bit of a cop-out.
Oh,
that's just him being him.
That's like the editor not doing their job.
I feel like Pauly Shore's "buddy" is a little bit better than the "wow."
I don't like a one-word answer being.
No, I think that's part of Pauly Shore. He says that in every movie.
Yeah,
I get that.
We got a Yippee-ki-yay has crossed borders at some point. I'm too old for this shit.
Isn't that just Expendables? Like that doesn't count. I don't know. This is a tough question.
Oh yeah, Billy Crystal.
There would be more cool ones.
Rob Schneider, "you can do it."
Okay. I guess.
The thing is, he's still playing the same character. It's like somehow a weird, like Happy Madison, like interconnected, like expanded universe.
It's just weird because like the Terminator movies are almost reverse engineered, where they can just be like, and then here's when Arnold says the thing, and that's like the premise of the movie.
Alrighty Then has crossed a few movies.
What's that?
Alrighty Then.
Yes.
Oh.
Must Go Faster, Jeff Goldblum.
What else did he say that in?
Jurassic Park and Independence Day.
Okay.
I don't remember that.
That's all I got for now. But I just thought, all right. That one is, McConaughey. Could be. It's on the fence. It just seems to be him being him.
No, but you know what? That's different than "wow" or "buddy" because it's one word. But the fact that you're repeating it 3 times is a specific thing.
If you've ever have you seen the Owen Wilson "wow" supercuts?
Yes.
Yes.
Tremendous.
I was just talking about that the other day.
Finest.
My sister was talking about that the other day. She was playing some sort of like drinking like card game, and like in it, like when you draw like the card, she didn't even remember the name of the game. Like you either have to do like an impression, or like it'll ask you like something, and like anyone, it's like the whole thing is like if anyone knows the answer, they have to do it, and then everyone else drinks or whatever. And one of them was something about like saying "wow" like Owen Wilson or something like that, and everyone was like, what does that mean? And my sister was the only one who was like, you guys don't know about the Owen Wilson wow? And they're like, no. And she's like, I think she even showed them the Phantom Menace thing where they replaced all the lightsabers with
that one is solid
and I was
gold.
like, I'm so proud of you that I'm so glad I showed that to you. You remembered it and actually like pulled that out. Like that's a great reference, like in like a group setting if no one's seen it before.
That was my favorite Phantom Menace spoof video until I saw someone put words to Duel of the Fates that were not the words.
Oh, that's a really good one. You know what I saw the other day, and I meant to send to you and Brian? Someone dubbed over "I Need a Hero" to all of the fight sequences at the end for Ben Solo on Exegol. And they synced it up really, really well. It came out really well.
Nice. I saw something similar for the Endgame finale.
Nice.
That was pretty good. Pretty good. What else you got?
My final bit of like casting news / new stuff announcements is some stuff since we've been tracking it every few months on the Lord of the Rings TV show. So apparently it seems like Will Poulter has pulled out of the lead role and has been replaced with Robert Aramayo. And no, you shouldn't know that name, but you will know who I'm talking about. He played young Ned Stark in Game of Thrones when they did the flashback to the Tower of Joy.
Okay.
So he has been tapped for the lead. He replaces Will Poulter, who had been in negotiations to the young hero role known as Beldor. Sorry, this is all on Deadline from earlier today. Recently, they moved ahead with an early season 2 renewal, even the fact that they're still in pre-production. But it makes sense because they paid like $1 billion for the rights or something like that. The series will be going on to a 4 or 5 month hiatus after filming the first 2 episodes to map out and write the bulk of the scripts for season 2, which I think we talked about the last time we talked about this. The show's cast, which has yet to be confirmed by Amazon, is believed to include Emma Horvath, Markella Kavanagh, who we've mentioned before on the show, Joseph Maul, who we've also mentioned. He was also in Game of Thrones. He played Benjen Stark, and Morfydd Clark. And I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm probably not. I believe she is playing a young version of Galadriel.
You know me with the name, so I'm just gonna nod and smile.
The Kate Blanchett, the Kate Blanchett role from all of the Lord
Oh, that one.
So
I do love when we talk about movies and we say the actors' names rather than the character names. It really mixes real life and.
I know it's hard to me insane though because I feel like we're talking about twice as many people as we're actually in the movie because you use mostly the actors' names and I try to remember the characters' names, though I often fail that. So I usually try and like say it enough times so that you'll pick it up without me having to be like, "Hey, Anthony, the person's name."
I like when you indulge me and you just give me the character name from a different movie, and then I'm like, "Oh, that guy."
Yeah, I play that game with my mom all the time because she knows like literally 1% of the actors and actresses' names of things that she's seen. So I just have to play that game of well, what were they in, and do it like 18 times until it finally clicks for her. Yep. So I'm already used to it. I'm a veteran at that game.
Appreciate it.
You guys remember when Galadriel had scary, pointy teeth like Evil Ray for probably just the same amount of time? Yeah, this is just for the trailer.
Yes. Instead of a dark lord, you'll have a queen. Beautiful and terrible as the earth, or something.
Yeah, that's like the same thing.
Kind of. Anyway, yeah, I know we periodically, like every few months, check in with this show, and I still don't know when the hell it's ever going to come out. But I thought that was interesting, especially once I didn't even recognize the name when I saw it, but I saw the picture and I was like, this guy looks familiar. And then I saw him, and they said it, and I was like, oh yeah, with long hair, I would totally have gotten that, but he has like super short hair in this picture. So anyway, fun Lord of the Rings show update. We'll check in again in like 3 months.
For that show, I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I am. Well, I just want to I really just want to wait for like 3 years when they finally give us the first trailer, so that I can be actually excited.
Right.
Well, that's like the pace they're working at right now. So, does anyone else have any more news, or can we get into the nuggets and notes?
Let's do some nuggets.
Yeah.
Okay. Anthony, do you want to take the reins?
Sure.
Sorry, I stole your job for. I had most of the news.
I think Gary has the reins. I don't know what's going on. That was amazing.
We all know podcasting is a visual medium.
Wait, did you literally take the reins?
He absolutely did.
Sorry, I have you guys like minimized, so it's only the thumbnail, so it's only whoever is talking that shows up. So since Gary wasn't talking, he was doing his best Greg Cody, doing the visual without saying anything, so I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
So 2019 has come to a close, and Al had reached out to us and thought it might be fun to go over our best movie and best show of the year.
And before we do that, because I don't know how many video games Gary plays, me, Anthony, and Brian on the Spinchoon.com did a Game of the Year article as well, which we will not be talking about, but you can go check out and read if you'd like to. Continue.
So that being said, I think it's worth. We could start off with movies because the show, and I think the way that I just wrote down a few that I think are top tier movies for the year that I'm super excited about, super happy with. They're like my number ones because I can't pick one.
Okay.
And I don't know how you guys feel about it. I don't know if you even care if you have to have a number one. Is it that important, or is like a top three a nice place?
Well, as you'll find out later, as we were discussing pre-show, I said that I kind of did that with my rankings of Star Wars movies.
Cool.
So I'm okay with that format. I think each of us should do the format that we came into it with. It doesn't have to be a...
Well, okay, how many do you have?
For me, I have one that I selected as the movie of the year and one honorable mention that I just want to mention.
Okay, and Gary, how many do you have?
I've got 3.
Okay, all right. So I'm just gonna bounce around. Gary, give me one.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, baby. Oh,
Tremendous.
Just shoot this right into my veins. I loved it so much. Just Brad and Leo being besties for about an hour and a half.
It was tremendous.
Probably the most daring and experimental Tarantino in a long time. I mean, all of the violence is pretty much at the top, where it's Leo with the flamethrower, and then at the back end. And I mean, the back end violence is probably not even my favorite part of the movie. Like, I just love the trip.
Nice,
I just wanted to hang out.
Fine, just stop saying back end violence.
Not that kind of podcast.
Crazy.
Right. So, I mean, I just wanted to hang out with Leo and Brad, as long as the movie would let me. And it was just a fun trip.
Yeah.
That did seem like kind of a chill hang.
And luckily, we got a decent amount of time with it. I'm not one to complain about the length of movies, except for The Irishman, but that was good. I enjoyed that I had a lot going. And honestly, when that movie ended, I was like, it's over? And then I went outside, and it was no longer, the sun wasn't there. And I was like, oh, things have happened. But Brad Pitt won supporting actor for that, and I think that was well deserved as far as the Golden Globes go. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won Best Musical or Comedy Motion Picture. Quentin Tarantino also won for writing, but should probably have that taken away just because of his acceptance speech.
Come on.
I didn't see his speech.
It was
calling that a
trash.
Musical or comedy is a little odd.
That's how the Golden Globes work.
It's weird. Comedy is, in the tragic sense.
Are we going to do comedy in like the old ancient Greek sense, where like anything that wasn't everyone died is a comedy?
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, this is the
how
opposite.
they do it.
No, everybody lived. So
I feel like it was like a way for them to be like, we want to nominate some of these movies that like would just never get it, and so they made that category.
Oh, that was adorable.
But no, I agree with you. That movie. I really enjoyed that. I'm gonna throw one out there. Potentially my number one. It's very tied with another one, but Knives Out. Obviously, we talked about it a little bit earlier.
It's very tied.
It's very tied. But Knives Out was some of the most fun that I had at the movies this year.
Agreed, because that's my honorable mention. I love that movie. We talked about that slightly earlier in the episode. I love that movie so very much. It was a good time.
Yeah. Okay, so what is your...
My movie of the year. What?
So what is your non-honorable mention?
Yeah, my dishonorable mention for movie of the year is Dr. Sleep, actually.
Oh, okay. It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
If you recall, when we did that episode, I said this may be the movie of the year. And so it was for me.
Yeah.
I loved the hell out of that movie. I thought the performances were tremendous from the 3 main leads. between Ewan McGregor, Rebecca Ferguson, and I don't remember the name of the girl, but her too. And I thought that it was an incredible story. I thought that the way the narrative unfolded for us was really great. I thought Rebecca Ferguson was an incredibly compelling villain. And I thought it was shot beautifully as well. The way that they rehashed and remixed some of the things at the Overlook at the end was really great. Some of the big set pieces were incredible. Not getting a great explanation, but also getting kind of an explanation for some of the magic stuff, making it very mysterious, was cool too. So, all around.
I was so pleasantly surprised with that movie.
I know you
really enjoyed it.
Were really not looking forward to it because you didn't love The Shining. And I'm glad that you liked it.
The Shining?
No, I don't, and I'm not going to pretend to. I think The Shining is a movie that people really enjoyed at the time, and you might like it now, and that's fine too, if it's the first time. But I don't think there's a lot of people that really saw it for the first time this late in their life, like me.
Okay.
In 2019, because I did watch it right before.
Okay. I saw it when I was like 11.
Yeah.
It's a much scarier movie.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think, and I get it. I understand why it's so loved, and I do think that for the time, fantastic. Not for the first time now.
Okay, I mean it's much scarier than like the original Halloween. I mean,
I also watched that for the first time this year, and I was like, yeah.
It's funny, yeah. I liked The Shining. I liked it. It was good. It wasn't like, I guess what Anthony was saying. It doesn't really hold up for being the masterpiece. You know what I mean? When you watch it 30 years after its release,
sure,
40 years after its release, I guess. And that's fine. I liked the movie. It was good. Not amazing, but good. I also think that we uncovered quite the phenomenon. Just recording that episode between me, Anthony, and my sister Gianna, because I had read the novel and they didn't, and the bits that I filled in for them seemed to make them actually appreciate it much more after the fact.
Yep.
Which actually probably is a negative to the movie itself, but also it's a really long novel to adapt into even a 2.5-hour movie.
Well, that's the thing. It's all subtext. So if you don't like any of the subtext, or if you can't read anything any further into the movie, then sure, there's nothing to take away from it. It's just...
Well, that's what it was. Is I explicated a lot of the subtext, and it seemed to refine their feelings on it in the process.
So the stuff with, with race issues and the Native American tribe and stuff like that, if you're not reading that in 2019, then you're not really taking the class issues.
We didn't really get into the race stuff much in the show.
Alcoholism, but that might
alcoholism definitely.
Yeah, that might be better done in Dr. Sleep. I don't know.
It was really well done in that.
Dr. Sleep was tremendous. The other problem with Dr. Sleep going in was the trailer for that movie is abysmal. It is not good. It is
the first one. The first trailer.
Even the second one, I wasn't sold. I wasn't thrilled about it.
No, I know, but I remember us talking about the second trailer. Oh no, sorry, you saw the second trailer, not the first one.
No, I saw both,
or something like that. But at the time when we talked about it, you didn't love whichever trailer you saw first, and then the second one, you're like, okay, I'm still not really in, but I'm more in.
Better. It wasn't.
Yeah,
it still wasn't good, but the movie was very good.
It was not marketed particularly well. It was a damn good movie, though. So that is my movie.
I agree. The movie was fantastic. I really did enjoy it. My next pick is going to be Motherless Brooklyn. It's a movie we didn't do on this show. I do think it's worth you seeing and maybe us doing an episode on. I just had a blast with it. I thought it was a really well done movie. I thought Ed Norton was just incredible. The way he plays that character is just he's so engaging, and the way the movie is shot, it feels very much like it just feels like an old-timey movie plus a play, the way that the way it's blocked and the way that certain things go down, and it's just really fun and different for today because of how much retro stuff it pulls on.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get to it, but I do want to see it eventually.
Seemed like a polarizing movie. I mean, there are people whose opinions that I trust that said they really liked it, but the general audience didn't like it. It didn't make any money. I do like Edward Norton a lot, so I think I'll get to it eventually.
Was it widely released? Because I had a hard time finding a showing for it.
I don't think it was a limited release, but it was not like a full release, I don't think. Like, I think it was only at the big theaters near me. I don't think it was at the ones that are closest to me.
Gotcha.
Might have died in the womb.
What do you got, Gary? What's on?
Sorry. My number 2 was Shazam. Which is one of the best origin stories that I've seen in a long time.
Fair.
For about 2 hours, I felt like a kid again, just sitting in the movie theater. Soaking it all up. I think Jaimin Hunsu does an amazing job as the wizard Shazam. I mean, it made me feel like I was there. Just the ambiance, the gravitas of it all. Billy Batson. And he's going like 100%, but the kid is still like exactly how a kid would act today. Like, hey, guy, get away. What is this? What are you doing? So all of it was very believable.
Psycho.
Place your hands on my shaft. No.
Oh my god!
That's an actual line in the movie.
We definitely both liked it a lot. I know that our review of that was pretty favorable. I got to watch like half an hour of it pretty recently, and I was like, oh yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Nice. My last one on my list is Endgame. I don't think it goes without saying. We were very into that. You can go listen to our episode. Maybe I'll put the theme song at the beginning of this one just because I have it still.
I think we did a pretty good job.
It was pretty
I'm still disappointed we didn't get a chance to do the opening Star Wars.
Yeah, I know. That one's kind of a bummer. Maybe in 10 years when it comes back.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was tough because, you know, we were up to like 3:30 recording that night.
4:30 is when I went to sleep. It went on quite a bit. But no, I rewatched Endgame probably. Well, actually, if you include the times I saw it in the theater, I've probably seen the movie 6 or 7 times now. And
really,
every time there's beats in that movie that really get me going. One time, okay, so at my last job, I was sitting at my couch and I was on my laptop and I had it on in the background, and I wasn't even paying attention at all. And Spider-Man swings through the portal, and I went, and I was like, "What was that? why did I just have an emotional response? I'm not even paying attention." But I think they did a tremendous job with it, and it was just the culmination of all these years of building up towards it. It just they nailed it. I really enjoyed that movie so much.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I have yet to re-watch it. Is it on Disney Plus? Because if it is, I'm going to watch it.
It is.
All right, Karen, did you have any other movies?
Well, just to get back to Endgame, I mean, you're right. In the theater, it was just a lot to take in, and I wasn't crazy with all the time travel stuff because it's really hard to do a time travel movie. But when I really sat down, had a couple beers, and like you said, Spider-Man was going through the portal, I was just fucking crying.
Yeah.
I was just a mess.
Is that the beers?
When you get on your left, it's just such a cheap shot, too. That's another one. I was like, ah!
Oh, yeah, I kind of forgot that was a callback.
I think Infinity War is still a better movie. I would still rather watch that, given the choice between the two, but you're right. Endgame, very nice, and especially with Cap and Cap's wife dancing at the end.
She has a name.
It's exactly. I know. I'm sorry.
I get it. There's like
she had her. Oh, Carter, Agent Carter.
Yeah.
Agent Carter. That's exactly how I thought in my mind the series should end. Just the two of them and him traveling back in time. Yeah. But my number 3 is Us.
Oh, okay.
One of the better films of the year, in my opinion. Just well made. Jordan Peele doing his thing. I like it better than Get Out.
Oh, wow.
In the terms of where it goes. Conceptually, it just feels like more of a movie. Like, I mean, it's so sprawling. So you have the very beginning. They just almost feel like separate movies cut together, but it still works. So you have the girl going down and meeting her tethered, and then you have the family vacation, and then you have the attack, and then you have the confrontation. And those are all just separate parts that make a whole to me. And Lupita Nyong'o is just going 100% in that.
She was great in that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely something I want to rewatch again. And deserves to be in the top 3.
Nice.
Interesting. I know that I think I liked it a bit more than you did, Anthony, but you liked it some, right?
I enjoyed watching the movie.
I know you said you weren't in a rush to see it again.
Exactly. That was my takeaway.
Now that we've had nearly a year since it's come out, I'm kind of intrigued to go back and see it. I think it just went on HBO or something, so I'm probably going to check it out soon-ish again. I liked it. I just found that it wasn't as coherent and cohesive as Get Out was. I think that was a cleaner, tighter production. This took an even bigger swing somehow, and I think it just, not that it whiffed, but it just didn't get the same solid contact.
Tim Heidecker's so good, though.
He was really good in his. He was such a douchebag.
Oh my god! With the Beatles music cue, and they just all die. I mean, that was probably the best moment in the theater, barring the Endgame big reveal. I would say when it's the 4 of them slightly out of frame, and then they all just very quickly get stabbed in the neck.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a big oh shit moment.
The camera outside the house with all the glass.
Yes.
Yeah, that beautifully shot. And so abrupt.
So scary. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was a shocking.
That's a great scene. It's awesome. Yeah, like that's what I meant by I enjoyed my time with it. I had fun watching the movie. By the end of it, though, I was just a little bit meh about like how it all kind of ties together. But I respect the choice. That's movies. Shall we move on to TV shows?
Sure.
All right. 2019's our best. 2019 our best TV shows. Al, let's start with you.
Oh, damn, that's unfortunate because I didn't actually put.
Gary, let's start with you.
So this is really hard. 1 and 2. 1 and 2 is really hard for me, but I think I'm going to go Watchmen every week for an hour. It just captivated the mind. They didn't try too hard. They didn't stretch it out. I mean, even the creators just saying it's this one season. So, yeah, I mean, it's a highlight. The first episode, I would say the 4th episode where it's a big flashback. Don't want to get too far into spoilers, but I mean, compared to some of the other, superhero television shows, especially the CW or anything else that you're watching, I don't see how Watchmen wouldn't be a better version of whatever it is that, the superhero shows that other people are watching nowadays.
Sure. Not having finished Watchmen, I'm sure you're right. And as a unapologetic love for those CW shows.
Oh, no!
Wait, hang on. I know they're terrible. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right.
No,
it's like my soap opera.
pleasures are fine as long as you know they're bad.
No, I feel like they're my stories, Yeah. Really.
That's fine.
No, I have no problem with people enjoying guilty pleasure stuff as long as you can admit that it's bad and it's a guilty pleasure.
At least 4 times an episode I go, it's so bad. And I mean it and I love it.
That's what I'm saying. When we were talking about this off air, most of the prequels, especially episode 1 and 2, are bad, objectively bad. I still enjoy watching them. I know they're bad.
Sure.
As long as you know, as long as you're not trying to tell me something is bad, then we're okay. As long as you know it's bad, then you can enjoy it as much as your heart desires.
I am going to throw a show out there, which is the reason that I pushed this episode off for 30 minutes, and that is Schitt's Creek. It has returned tonight, and I adore that show. It's so much fun. You're Al, you didn't watch it right this evening, did you?
No, I didn't have time to watch it tonight. I was going to try and get it in before the episode, but I was watching some hockey overtime, so I didn't get there. What I was also watching before that was, just a brief aside, they had the Jeopardy Tournament of Champions start up tonight.
I'm watching that too.
What's that?
I'm watching that too.
Oh yeah, no, I thought that was some cool shit. I'm going to try and watch it all week. So you saw the whole thing? Did you see Dak Shepard, not armchair expert?
Yep, that was amazing. Also, that was probably one of the highlights of his life because he really, really loves Jeopardy.
Oh, does he? Really?
And I think the best part about it was on the last clue. Alec goes, Dex? And I feel like he was probably watching the episode and had a minor heart attack.
Oh my god, it's funny. But yeah, anyway. No, I didn't get to watch the new Schitt's Creek. I'm probably going to watch it tonight before I go to sleep or sometime tomorrow.
I love the show so much. It's so much fun. And I more so this past year because I watched all of it this year because I didn't know about it before. So I watched all the previous seasons, and that we were so excited for the premiere tonight. We saw them live, and it was so much fun. But man, it's just, I don't know. There's something about the chemistry that that they each have. And I don't know what it is about it's different than other comedies that I've watched before in a way that I don't really know how to describe. And I think you would agree if you watched it. Yeah,
it's funny because at times it kind of feels like I'm watching something like a Parks and Rec, but it's not the same at all. There's definitely plenty of differences from that, but at times I get that vibe a little bit, and I think it just comes down to, like you said, having that ensemble have that chemistry together.
Yeah.
But I love that show too. I guess it would have been one of my honorable mentions. I wasn't 100% sure if the last season came out in 2019, so I wasn't going to throw that in there. I will go with one of my. Well, I guess I'll go with what my show of the year was because it's the same as Gary's, Watchmen. Okay. I wasn't sure. I meant to ask you the other day if you had finished watching it or not. You should definitely get on that because
I did not finish it.
As you can see from both of us and many people picking it as their show of the year, it is so damn good.
Yeah.
Like Gary said, the flashback episode, which I think was a little later in the season than he had mentioned, was incredible. As well as the second to last or third to last episode? Was it a God Walks Into a Bar? Was the episode title? Was incredible because of the degree of difficulty of executing that, because it's all from the perspective of the way that Dr. Manhattan experiences time. So it's jumping through timelines back and forth. It's really hard to execute that.
How many episodes is it?
There's 9 episodes total.
Okay, then I'm a third of the way through.
But the one that Gary was talking about, was it This Glorious Being or something like that, was the name of the flashback episode. It was just great. The finale was really, really, really strong. The way that they tied together so many things that seemed to have no relation to each other, and then in the end, all making sense and how they're related together, I thought was masterful. I thought it was a hell of a story. There was some tremendous performance from Regina Hall, from Yahya Abdul-Mateen, from Tim Blake Nelson, from Gene Smart. Really, really, really good.
Nice. I'll definitely get through the rest of it. I just haven't gotten back to it. I don't know what it was. The thing is, I like it, and I'm enjoying the episode when I'm watching it. But it's a very one at a time show for me. I obviously can't watch more than one in a sitting.
Okay,
I feel about it. It's and not because it's bad. It's just
it's a lot.
It's too much of that feeling for an hour, and then I don't want to do it again.
See, the thing is, by the time you get to the second half of the season, you're going to get over that just because of how good and compelling and how many things are being unveiled. Because, you're right. The first 2 or 3 episodes are distinctly, not that they're less good, but less, in your face, oh my God, than the next 6 episodes
they're disconnected, but you can see the line starting to cross, and I imagine it seems like they really get all tangled up as the show goes on. So
that's part of it, because there's certainly things that you don't know how they could possibly be related to each other.
What was the last thing you remember, or what's the one you left? Is there a cliffhanger?
The last one I watched, the car was dropped from the sky at the very end.
Ah, yes.
Great episode. I thought it was really good.
The one where she's in the phone booth.
Laurie Blake.
Yeah. I love that joke she's telling throughout the course of the episode. I thought that was a really cool.
I like that mechanic.
How they did that.
Well, even the opening where she arrests Batman. I mean, that's so cool.
That was pretty great. I did not expect that to be like that at all. But yeah, that was by far the best show of the year.
Nice. What, Gary? Can you give me another one?
My number 2 is Euphoria, and I really wanted it to be number 1. I just think Watchmen was a little bit more well done as a whole.
What is that?
I mean,
it's on HBO.
That's HBO as well. So
it's the Zendaya show.
Oh,
yeah. Just a teen sex romp, but super updated for 2019.
I believe you have to say that it's a trippy, drug-addled teen sex romp.
Yes, a trippy, drug-addled.
Remember all the buzzwords, Gary. God.
Please forgive me. I mean, it's just these characters are so broken but relatable in their own way, almost in a Leftovers sort of way, where Zendaya has substance abuse problems, and she has problems connecting to people, and she has a broken home. Well, not a broken home, but it's just her and her mom and her sister, and she's just getting out of rehab. So that's the beginning of the season, and it journeys on, and it just gives you these other high school stereotypes, but they're modernized and updated in a way that's very compelling. And, TV isn't real life to begin with, so you should just turn on and tune out, in my opinion, most of the time. Some of the backlash about being this isn't really how 2019 kids are. They're not all just like popping Molly and going to party. Obviously they're not. I mean, some of them are. But the way some things change, the way some things stay the same. And this was some of the more gripping and compelling TV that I've seen this year. And yeah, ready to come back for Euphoria Season 2, definitely.
Nice.
I have an honorable mention. I don't know if you finished this, Ant, and I know that you were watching it, although you didn't tell me originally, and then you just dropped it casually in the episode. I was like, oh shit, Righteous Gemstones.
Oh yeah, I think I only watched 2 episodes. I kind of trailed.
Oh my god!
I knew you would be down for it, Garrett, because I know you like what's his name?
Oh yes.
Have you lost your marbles? That's one of the greatest lines in TV.
I mean, not even him. Walton Goggins also steals about a third of the show. This is definitely in the vein of some of their other shows, like
Vice Principals was so good.
Vice Principals, so good.
I actually like that one better than Righteous Gemstones, but Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right for saying that. Misbehaving. If we're doing some of the top moments of TV this year, Misbehaving has to be top 3. I mean, just a musical delight.
For a while.
I had that stuck in my head for weeks.
Did you? You didn't get that episode yet, did you?
No.
Oh.
Mama said no, but I did it anyway. Misbehaving.
Oh God, I'm not sure that I'll go back to that.
Oh no, you should finish it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Goodman. How hard is that?
It's not a matter of difficulty. Okay. I'll go. My next one on my list is Fleabag. Did either of you get to watch that?
Yeah.
I almost did.
Almost did. Okay.
I was so close. So many people told me I could pound it out in 2 days, pretty much, but I just did.
Yeah, right.
The
That's phrasing.
what I love about with Fleabag, the two seasons are so different. The way that the way that the story goes, and it's so clever. The character is Fleabag. The character, you don't hear the character's name, which I think is awesome. It's a really fun way of doing it, and it just really is a lot of fun. And her delivery, and she really, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she's so funny, and she also won Golden Globe for, I think it's Best Actress in a Musical or Comedy TV Show. Double checking that, but yeah. And she was tremendous, and wrote that story. And then but the second season, where it all comes, like the second story that they tell with more characters and like more of a relationship, it's just so entertaining. And I do think that it is worth it. And that's it. I don't think there's going to be another one. She only wrote the 2 seasons, and there's not really more story to tell. It does have an ending, so I think it's worth you taking the time.
Okay. No, and I like that model. I mean, that's also Watchmen did that. I think more American television shows should do that, where it just ends. Yeah,
right. The ending is okay. It's fine.
Anymore.
It's such a weird situation, right? Because it's like, on the one hand, when it's good, oh fuck, I want more of it. On the other, it's like, okay, I guess I'd rather just be straight up with me and be like, we don't think we can do it anywhere near as, like, it's fine if the second season of something isn't as good, as long as it's like within like 10%, you know what I mean? Like oh, I prefer the first season, but still damn good. But when it's like, that wasn't great, like that, it's a little disappointing. So if you set out and you know that you have a story that you just want to tell and that's it, like, I get it. But on the other hand, there is a disappointment factor, and it's tough because we're used to everything being taken like 3 seasons too long. Yeah, that we all like give me more.
American TV is a John Ralphio rap, right? It's just
wait, what?
You know how John Ralphio ends his raps?
Yeah, sorry, it took me a second. But yes, you're right.
But no, yeah, that Fleabag, definitely worth the watch. Would you have another mention, Al?
Yeah, I'll go with the first half of the final season of BoJack Horseman.
Okay.
I love that show. I know Anthony said you couldn't get into it, really. Garrett, did you watch it at all?
I've never seen BoJack.
BoJack is so good. And I kind of felt similar in some ways to what you were saying with Euphoria, where it's like, this is just like a whole like surreal other world that you can kind of just slip into and just appreciate it for what it is, where like there's good people, there's bad people, good things and bad things happen to both back and forth, and it's like this whole lived in world that like you just go to for a bit, and sometimes it's hysterical, like laugh out loud, crying, laughing funny, and other times it's like, oh, I kind of want to cry because that's super depressing, and even to the point of like, oh shit, like something with that resonates with me, even though I'm not like a horse in Hollywood. You know? And then you want to laugh because it's like, oh wow, why am I relating so much to this depressed former superstar actor who is a horse?
So it's like when Rick and Morty actually tries.
Yeah. It's like infinitely less cynical than Rick and Morty, though.
Okay. It just gets sad.
Yeah, but like it's real and it's earned, and they're trying to deal with real life problems, but with a horse or a cat or like a cuttlefish or something. But also people too, and it's like the amount of what I find so incredible about that show is how many running jokes they can juggle, and some of them mean nothing, and some of them mean everything, and some of them are the stupidest thing in the world, and some of them are the cleverest thing in the world, and some of them you may not even notice because it's like something written on like a flyer that someone walks past, like stuck to a window. And I don't know, it's just like I said, it's despite the fact that it's this ridiculous thing with all these like animals that are like real anthropomorphic things alongside actual human beings, everything's total normal. It isn't a surprise that the shock factor is entirely on you, the audience. No one ever is like, oh my god, this talking horse. No, it's just, it would be like, oh my gosh, this like Russian person. You know what I mean? Like it's just a person in the world. And as the show has gone on, the stakes have gotten higher while the story has gotten narrower. It's really focusing in on a couple of people and the good and bad that they've done in their life, and how you can balance those two things, that good people can do bad things, and bad people can be good if they are willing to do the work to be that. And then they can take you from something that's super depressing for like 30 straight minutes and end it with something hysterical in the last 30 seconds, and then the episode's over and it's on to the next one. It's hard. Yeah, it's incredible the way they balance the happy and the sad and all that stuff.
Because Will Arnett actually had another, I think it was an Amazon show where he was like a recovering alcoholic, and it was just him doing the acting or whatever, and it was him like in California or whatever.
I think that was also on Netflix.
Up right now. Oh, maybe it was on Netflix. All I know is I watched like all of it. So
I know the show you're talking about, but I never saw it. I forget what it's called.
It's interesting that he's able to go back to the same material, and I mean, even past, I guess Arrested Development, and he's got a lot of voiceover work, so he's got that money too.
He's got a million different projects, and it's just he's working on what he finds interesting, and I've found this to be super interesting. I thought this newest season was really good. I think that the show overall has gotten a little darker as it's gone, but they still find a way to have some absolutely hysterical things that happen. There are some jokes that they set up for an entire episode, sometimes more than one episode. And when it pays off, you either were paying attention and it will literally kill you, or you didn't and it's still funny, and like that's great. And it's whatever level you want to engage with it on, you can. I found it to be incredibly compelling, and it is done. One of my favorite running jokes, using Margot Martindale, who is a tremendous actress. And the thing is, with only one or two exceptions, anyone who is a named famous person is voiced by themselves in the show.
That's cool.
And so it's like people come in and they know they're playing a ridiculous version of themselves. Like there was an episode where a bunch of them get trapped underground in a party, and it turns into Lord of the Flies. And Jessica Biel is leading the charge to eat Zach Braff because they need to resort to cannibalism. And it's Jessica Biel voicing herself, and it's Zach Braff voicing himself. And it's hysterical. But Margot Martindale plays herself, but she's not just Margot Martindale. She's character actress Margot Martindale. That is the only way they refer to her on the show. And multiple times she is arrested. She dies. She didn't actually die. She faked her death. Somehow she escaped in this fiery explosion. At one point, I can't remember this season if she had forgotten who she was or she just decided to go incognito and live as a nun. It's just the most ridiculous thing in a ridiculous show, and I love it because I love her as an actress. She's hysterical when she wants to be, or she's terrifying when she wants to be. And there's a scene of her in an art gallery firing an M16 at a bunch of cops who are trying to rightfully arrest her, screaming, "You'll never take me alive."
Oh my
God. It was, I don't know. I just love that show. The newest season was great. The final part of it comes out fairly soon. And that'll be the end for real. So,
I need to throw an honorable mention to a show that we have been recapping at the end of each episode for the past 6 weeks. And that is,
and we'll be recapping at the end of this one as well.
Yep. And that is The Mandalorian. Now, and here's the thing. Mandalorian is not by any means a great TV show, but it is the most fun that I have had watching TV this year, in that tuning in on Friday after work to watch it, talking with Al and Brian about it as soon as they've seen it and catching up. And it was just this event that it created. And I haven't felt that connected to a show in this era of binging in a while. And it's because of that weekly release and that cadence. And it was just so much fun to just sit there and just enjoy it for 30 minutes. Just relax and enjoy this crazy action figures brought to life show that you were watching. And it was, I really had a blast with it.
The rumors of the death of the monoculture were greatly exaggerated, as everyone was afraid that the water cooler talk around the event show of Game of Thrones was going to be over, has been resurrected by The Mandalorian on a weekly basis. Mm-hmm. I would disagree with you ever so slightly. I mean, sure, it's not great. It doesn't measure up to something like Watchmen. It's damn good though overall as a show. It was really high quality. It's a good. But you're right. Fun is the best word. You have fun just about every week watching it, and we.
I
have
got
fun
Bill Burr in Star Wars. I'm thrilled.
Yeah, we got Space Boston confirmed canon.
Canon. Amazing.
Let me tell you, I've heard a lot about this Mandalorian. You guys feel it. I'm ready to compensate him the best I can. Yes, Werner Herzog. I'm so sorry.
Impression.
It was either going to be that or Carl Weathers shouting, Mando! Mando, can you sit next to me? Mando, who do you like this weekend, the Seahawks or the Packers? Please. Mando.
Or how about
no, you guys are right. I watched the first half. I couldn't stay away just because it's Star Wars and they're always going to take my money. So I did a couple free trials or whatever just to see what it's all about. And
wait, have you been making up emails to get through the show?
A couple. I waited. It was a game. It was a bit of a game. Gotta do what you gotta do, baby.
If you enjoyed the first half of the season, then you should definitely continue making fake emails because the 2-part finale, the 2 episodes were so.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely something I want to finish. I don't know so much about it. It definitely got people talking, I would say, more just because Baby Yoda, more than the actual show itself, but there are definitely two
Baby Yoda definitely lifted it up.
Yeah. I mean, it's two halves of the same coin, so either way. My last mention would be The Boys on Amazon.
Oh, shit, yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, what a good 10 episodes.
It's just funny because I wrote a review for the Spinchoon. Yeah, The Boys was really good.
I still have to watch that. It seems like
I was very pleasantly surprised because I was kind of getting some of the same cynical vibes I was getting from like the promotional material of Joker, and I was like, ugh, yeah. Like I don't need this. And Dominic really wanted to watch it, and we watched it together, and I ended up really liking it.
Nice.
It's much more fleshed out, I would say, than Joker, but
well, it also got 3 times as long to do that, but
yes. Just the elements that make it up, the acting, the writing, everything was really good for 10 episodes and ready to tune in for next year.
Yeah, I'm psyched.
I mean, especially since wasn't Brightburn this year too, so we got a lot of like evil superheroes.
Brightburn was intense.
Yeah.
Did you watch that?
I never got to it. I know you were excited for it.
Oh my god.
I enjoyed it.
That movie was way more brutal than I expected, and I was like, holy lord.
That makes it worth the price of admission.
That was a double feature night. We watched that, and then I think we watched like Clerks because we needed something to laugh at afterwards. Like we needed to really change gears when it was over.
Like just like cleanse the palate.
Yeah, I was like when that ended. It was fun. I'm not gonna watch it again, but I thought it was entertaining.
No, I mean if it's on like HBO, I'd put it on as like background noise, but I mean it's not a perfect movie.
Put background nightmares on. That's not really my
Sure.
I will give one last mention, and that is The Witcher. I did not expect to really for that to get its hooks in me, and I had a lot of fun with it, and I finished it probably in a 4-day span of just I'll watch one more. I'll watch one more, and then the season was over, and I was like, "No, it was fun," and I would watch it again. And there's been some tremendous memes that have come out of it. Now it's a little convoluted. It's fine. I know there's people have complaints with the show. They're all.
Well, I've heard that's really by design, though.
I think so too, but people seem to not really want to give that. It's there. I can't argue that. I read a
story this week about it, and it was titled. What was it? It might have been on The Escapist, I think, where they said The Witcher is purposefully convoluted and confusing because it's mirroring the way that myth and lore were passed down in old times, that the show wants to be delivering to you its story in that same way, the way that things get confused and exaggerated in the retelling and how myth becomes myth, right?
Yeah, and they are super on the nose with it. Like, they have this minstrel in the show, and he like sings these songs, and there's one part where he's singing the song to Geralt, and he's like, "That's not how it happens," and he's like, "I don't care."
So yeah, I definitely want to watch it. I'm just trying to finish Mr. Robot, which would have been on the honorable mention, but technically I didn't watch the newest season, which was in 2019.
Fair enough.
So didn't feel right to put it as part of the honorable mention. But damn good show. I'm almost done with the third season. The fourth season is the final one. So
nice. Any other show mentions before we move on from our bests of?
No, I think I'm good on shows.
And as Al mentioned, for best of 2019 video games, you can check out our article on the Spinchoon. Moving on. Al was driving home. Were you driving home from Star Wars? When were you driving home and you were thinking up your list when you were ordering your Star Wars films?
Oh, I don't remember when that was that I did it, but I did it.
A long drive home from my house.
Yeah. Well, I think I was thinking about it. I think I waited until I got home to actually like commit it to the page. But
right.
Yeah, no. I had a 2-hour drive home to think about Star Wars and where they all sit together. And Gary, a few days later, saw episode 9 and tweeted out his list. So I figured, you know what? The three of us are going to be together. Let's talk about our list together.
So, Al, why don't you kick this off?
Okay, so I'm annoying, and I have them in tiers.
Okay.
I'm just telling you the front end, I'm going to be slightly annoying.
Sure.
So I basically put 5 and 4 on a tie. I think 5 is overall the better movie. I think 4, it's just its place in history and what it did to like cinema as a thing for the 40 plus years since it's come out, warrants it being registered on the same plane. I think shortly behind that I have episode 8, The Last Jedi, and then I have Rogue One, and then I have episode 6. Next tier would be episode 9 and 7 tied. They're polar opposite movies. One of them is incredibly well made, but has a hard cap on how good it can be because it's a remake. The other one is not incredibly well made, takes some wild swings while being ultra conservative in other ways, is a glorious mess that's really fun to look at and has some really great moments, but also has some really bad moments. And I also put episode 3 there because kind of the same thing to a certain extent, and most of its sins were sins of the father because episode 1 and 2 set it up with impossible threads to carry forward, but it also has some incredible stuff both from story and just visual spectacle standpoint in the same way that episode 9 did. Solo exists on its own tier below that. It is a fine movie. It is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I like some stuff about it.
Yep.
Doesn't work 100%, but it's not a bad movie. It's fine. And then the two bad movies, 1 and 2. 1 is as a clear, concise, coherent story that it wants to tell. Tells it. It's just not a good story. Some really good performances. Obviously, Duel of the Fates and that whole sequence and fight were incredible. But also Jar Jar and galactic politics for just too much. Also some racist caricatures of villains. 2 is just an unholy mess for the first 2/3 of the movie, but the final 40 minutes is just pure adrenaline. And some cool as shit stuff. And I never honestly thought I would see Yoda fighting with a lightsaber, and I saw it, and I loved it. So
people clapped in the theater.
And rightfully so.
It was a big deal. When he turned that little green lightsaber on, people lost their fucking...
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to unpack in that whole moment, right? Because, oh shit, that's right, this isn't a puppet anymore, it's CGI. 2, oh god, he actually has a lightsaber. We can confirm he has a lightsaber, which he badassfully uses the Force to bring from one side of his hip to the other hand. Mm-hmm. And then 2, he turns on the lightsaber, and it is adorably tiny, just like him.
Well, let's not forget 1.5 when he drops his cane and everybody goes...
Yeah, well, it's great because he leaps in there with the cane.
He's gonna fall
casually and starts leaping with the Force.
So good. I respect your list, Al.
What's up?
I respect your list. I do think that if you're gonna list them all out, you might as well break them up and take them off tiers and just. But we'll get into my reasoning for why these lists are just completely flawed when I eventually go. But Gary, why don't you give us yours?
Just like Al, I mean, I agree with number one. A lot of people agree with number one. It's Empire. It's got the most stuff. Doing it in the best way, pretty much. So a lot of people agree that it uses the Force in the best way. When Ben visits Luke when he's dying on Hoth, and he's like, "Oh, you got to go to see Yoda." They cut up the Tauntaun. I mean, beat by beat, it's just the best movie. It's just, there's nothing you can argue with it. Lando on Cloud City is a great addition. You get the real introduction of Boba Fett, where he's just kind of thrown into the Lucas edit of A New Hope from the 90s. Before that point, his real introduction was in Empire.
No,
so,
actually,
Empire number one.
Star Wars Holiday Special.
Oh, Al, don't you make me get up. My number two is The Force Awakens. It's just A New Hope, but better. I mean, it's modernized. The lightsaber fights are all so much better than, the original fight between Ben and Vader in the hall, where they're just kind of holding them, and this, and they, they're just old David Prowse and, Alec Guinness slightly moving towards each other. The Force Awakens just does everything better. Rey in the first two movies just is so great. And especially just like, remember when you saw the trailer for the first time and it was just a stormtrooper taking off his helmet in the desert and it was a black guy. I mean, that was one of the more interesting things Star Wars has done in a long time. And it just left you with so many questions. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? Why is he important? Why is he in the trailer? And yeah, well, Tatooine is hot, or Jakku is hot.
A lot of
General Hux, The New Order, great speech. He only gets worse movie to movie. It's just the peak. And I would say Ben, Kylo Ren, the line, that lightsaber belongs to me, the lightsaber fight in the snow, the great visuals, Finn, a non-Force user, taking on somebody that he knows he's just going to lose to. And, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, Rey Force grabbing the lightsaber past Kylo Ren is probably my favorite Star Wars moment ever. I mean, it's just
solid.
Shot
Definitely agree.
Well. The camera tracks the lightsaber, and you think Kylo Ren's going to do it because that was the last shot, was him reaching out his hand, but no, not so fast. So, I mean, I love The Force Awakens. Anytime it's on, I'll stop and watch it. A New Hope, number 3. You heard my argument for Force Awakens. I love A New Hope. It's just that. So you pick one. You like the old one, you like the newer one, it doesn't matter. The Last Jedi is my number 4.
Good.
Love the ideas in that movie, especially based on the Rise of Skywalker. Having seen all the movies at this point, and The Last Jedi just has better ideas. It has Luke, and it's harder to take in and to grapple the first time you ever see it. Luke, you think he's a hero, but he's smart, or he's using the Force, or he thinks he's doing the right thing. It's a combination of a lot of stuff. And he's flawed, just like anybody else. He's not perfect. People don't like the Canto Bite stuff. I don't either. I think DJ is a great addition. Instead of the Master Codebreaker, Benicio del Toro is perfect. Perfect Star Wars character. Does his little quirky stuff, but, he's also his own thing. Like, I'll do whoever pays me, it doesn't matter. I'm just a person in this universe. I'm not on the Resistance. I'm not on the Empire. I just want to live. And they don't come back to that, and I like that. They just let him go. Return of the Jedi, I was never a huge Jedi guy. I would always watch A New Hope and Empire more than Jedi. Just drags in the middle. I mean, everybody, they think about the first 30 minutes and the last 30 minutes. And, Chewie and Han and Leia trying to sneak into a bunker is just not that interesting. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I actually kind of like that.
Okay, that's fine.
I just think we mostly have been interrupting each other, but I always liked that because it felt like you had to be special to do like any of the big important things or like the infiltration stuff, and it's just like some regular like people who have like skills and they're just doing the best they can, and they win against overwhelming odds, and they didn't use the Force,
That's cool and all. It just feels like filler. I mean, all the more important stuff is happening on the Death Star.
Oh, no question about
that. So that's my number 5 so far. 6, Revenge of the Sith. Best of the prequels.
No question.
Definitely leans on the final battle, which is it takes up a long portion of the movie. The only thing, like, as a kid walking out of the Revenge of the Sith, just being like, I wanted to see more Darth Vader. Why did it end when it finally got to Darth Vader? What the fuck is this? But definitely still good enough to be in my top 6. Phantom Menace, I think, has the best ideas. And that's pretty much what you'll take away from my list, other than your guys' list, is that, I'll still take George Lucas's vision, like it or not. There's enough good there for me to be like, this is still a movie that's making choices, and it doesn't rely. These are all new ideas, like them or not, like the CGI or not. These are all new ideas. Mm-hmm. It's not like, that they stole the Death Star plan, so we'll make a whole movie based on that. And then there's going to be the guys from the Cantina and Tatooine, and they're going to be on the planet, and they're going to be like, why did you bump my friend? My friend doesn't like you. And the fan service stuff is what really upsets me the most in Star Wars. So that's what's going to reflect my bottom 3 the most, is some of the newer entries that only rely on, the thing from the thing, so you should like the movie, because it has the things you like.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm. That's a valid criticism, and probably one of the better criticisms that I've heard.
Yes. So Phantom Menace, it has newer ideas. There's better ways you could do it. You could go on YouTube and see like different videos of like how I would have done the Phantom Menace and why it would be so much better. But the pod racing scenes, the Darth Maul scene, even some of I think there's a very short desert battle on Tatooine before they escape the planet. Qui-Gon Jinn, and a lot of people's favorite Jedi is Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't understand it. It's not my favorite Jedi, but it's very obvious that Liam Neeson made his mark on the franchise.
That's a big part of it. There's something to the character himself as well, but we don't have to get into that now.
For sure. So that's why Phantom Menace is my number 7. My number 8 is Attack of the Clones. Al's right. It's the worst of the prequels. Before the pod, I said that the John Williams Love Across the Stars love theme was one of my favorite pieces of music from the franchise altogether. I mean, it's just the thing about this franchise is it does so many other things competently, so when one or two things is lacking, it makes up for it in so many other different ways. And in Attack of the Clones, who hasn't? Have you guys ever just felt like Obi-Wan when you put your hood up on a rainy day and you have to walk somewhere? You guys never felt like you were on I'm blanking on the planet right now.
Camino?
But the clone
Camino,
yeah. You guys never felt like Obi-Wan and Campino?
Oh, definitely.
And the Jango Fett stuff isn't great, but it's pretty good. He's there.
He was definitely
He is
there.
absolutely there.
Unlike the clones that Tamara Johnson played, he is actually physically there.
Yeah, and he's got the there was like a bounty hunter game on PlayStation or whatever when we were kids that was quite good as well.
Yeah, I think I had a broken version of that because at one point I just couldn't advance.
Remember when games couldn't be patched? That was the shit.
Yeah, I think I had that for that game because that game was fun as shit. Like, the idea of that game was cool. The combat suite, like all the different things they let you do, super cool. I just think I literally had a broken version of that game. It was a good thing I only rented it because I would have been really mad if I had bought it.
And then I'm just going to lump my bottom three together here. These are newer entries in the series, and I just think they rely way too much on fan service or stuff you should like, as opposed to, like, just making a movie on its own that's good. So it's Rogue One, Solo, and Rise of Skywalker in that order.
See, on this list, the only thing I really object to, well, two things. One, I think that just by the fact that 7 is a remake puts a hard cap on how high it can go on the list. I agree with all the things you said. I just think that that it has to be docked points for being a retread. And I think that Rogue One is less reliant on the actual nostalgia part of it. I understand it's reliant on something else existing, but I don't think it trades on your nostalgia quite as much, and is just a legitimately really good movie on its own. I would just put it higher. I'm not going to quibble as to where higher, but putting it in the bottom 3 doesn't feel right to me.
Okay, probably not. Just make the team shorter, because I don't, you only have 2 hours, and you had 2 different directors for this feature, and you've got, by the end of it, 6, 7, 8 Resistance members that I all met in this movie? I mean, just leave it at Cassian Andor, and not Rey. Rebellions are built on hope. I just don't care. And the Saul Guerrero stuff, that's what should be in the movie as opposed to some of the other stuff. Because he's just introduced, and it's like, oh, you're supposed to care about him because he's Forrest Whitaker, and he's got a weird breathing thing. I don't know. It's just all this stuff that's introduced to me, but none of it's built up, and I don't care how they got the plans for the Death Star. I like A New Hope on its own enough. So the last 40 minutes kicks ass. It's great. It's really cool visually.
Yeah.
I don't need everything else in the movie, and that's the problem.
I've heard that
really
before, and there is some truth to it. It resonated more with me than it did with other people, and that's fine. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, the last 40 minutes is incredible. The first, hour or whatever, 2 hours is, or hour and a half, however long the first parts of the movie is, feels like it's not fully fleshed out. It doesn't. And I know that's Anthony's problem with the movie, is that Cassian is one of the two. I mean, it's an ensemble, but it's really about Cassian and Jyn. I know that he never felt a connection to him. And that's fine. It doesn't work for everyone. I did. And that's why I really love this movie. And that's fine. If it didn't work for you, it didn't work for you. But I guess that's my objection to putting it so low, is I still think it's a really well-made movie, despite how crazy, as you alluded to, the production was. The finished product works.
I think Krennic is the best thing. I think Krennic is the best thing from that movie.
Compelling villain. Really compelling villain.
And then Solo, Solo's just a worse movie. It's not well lit. It's got some ideas. It shouldn't have ever been made, or it was rushed. Ron Howard didn't fix anything. And then Rise of Skywalker is just, I can't get past the Palpatine thing. I just cannot. It was built up, that would be fine. There's definitely a 40 to 50 minute portion in the middle of the film where it's maybe I can get over this. But when he's just shooting lightning into the sky, I cannot. And actually, if you guys saw on Twitter, the Ben Solo challenge is going on right now, where people are reenacting the shrug when he gets the lightsaber from Rey, whatever. And I didn't know.
I saw that there was a Ben Solo challenge. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I didn't know we would get this whole thing from it. I mean, there's clearly moments. I mean, there's clearly moments in the movie that are good, like the shrug and the passing of the lightsaber that kicked ass. But that's not really better than any moment in The Last Jedi. I mean, when Kylo Ren is reaching out his hand, and after the throne room battle, and I mean, the main problem with the movie is it doesn't commit to anything. It tries to kill Chewbacca, it doesn't. It tries to wipe C-3PO's memory, it doesn't. It just doesn't commit to anything. Just do it. Just make a fucking decision.
The only decision that they committed to was, no, Rey has to be someone.
And that's upsetting as well.
I didn't like the decision.
So it goes back, it makes The Last Jedi a better movie because it is a better movie, and it makes The Force Awakens a worse movie. And that's really hard for me. I wish it just didn't exist, like Die Hard 5.
My biggest problem with my biggest problem with 9 is that in a trilogy of movies in which one of them is a pure remake, this is somehow a more cynically movie.
From the get-go, I mean, what's his name? Lando, Billy D. Williams, he can barely walk, and that's why they have the other guy who's wearing the armor that leads them to the ship, and then he's just there like, my flying days are over.
I mean, listen, they gave him short shrift in the first 2 movies. It's kind of offensive that they didn't invite him back in any way, shape, or form if they're going to invite everyone else back. And also remember, he's like 80 years old. So, give him a break.
Have him back. Just I don't have the story depend on him being like spry and still agile.
Doesn't have to be spry.
The Avengers. Okay. After he discovered them at the rave, the Coachella planet.
I don't know. I agree with a lot of your criticisms of the movie, and I have the same ones. In the end, I was really fighting my disappointment the first time I saw it, while also still being like, "Oh, that was cool, whatever." I watched it again about a week after it came out, and unburdened of expectation, I enjoyed it more the second time around, which I knew I would, because it is a fun movie. There's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with how it's shot or the chemistry or the actors. It's just the premise is upsetting. The Emperor's in the opening crawl. I cannot get past that.
Well, the one thing that me and Anthony talked about, I know you said you didn't get a chance to listen to our episode on it. Of all of the 9 movies that have an opening crawl, 6 of which were written and or directed by George Lucas, 8 of them all feel like Star Wars opening crawls, and one of them doesn't. And we couldn't really pin down what it was that was wrong with it, other than it just didn't feel right. And that's a weird experience.
Yeah. We talked at length about it on our episode 9 episode, which is redundant. But it brought in a lot of things that are like in Star Wars universe, like some of the wacky, and it brought that a lot more forward in the story. Which, I mean, you could take it or leave it. It doesn't. Some people liked it. Some people really didn't like it. That's fine. I really enjoyed it.
I hate it.
It's higher on my list than most, probably. It's similar to Al's. We'll get there. But one of the things that I do find an interesting argument, I agree. I kind of liked it better with Rey not being anyone. I think that made the character a lot stronger. The
two things. It made
Palpatine.
It made her character stronger, and it made the concept of the Force being for the galaxy instead of for like 2 or 3 families. Yeah. That limits the scope of this in such a way that is really frustrating.
Oh no, yeah, that's one of the criticisms that actually I can get behind. Of it does make it feel like it's locked into this core group. The saying that like her being a Palpatine, like that really bothering people just at face value is not really fair, considering retconned lineage throughout the storyline of all of the Star Wars movies.
Yeah. Well, I had said it bothered me if you had to make her a part of a family that we knew who had the Force, it was the least offensive way to go.
Sure.
Because it would have really upset me if she was actually a Skywalker or a Kenobi.
I agree. Again, I'm not going to argue with you. I think I would have liked it better if she was not attached. Yeah. I think that would have made it a lot stronger.
Well, I think there's better ways of doing it than just
a certain point of view.
It's the opening call, but he's back.
Yeah. Well, and that's the only reason why that piece of it isn't so offensive. It would have been offensive to me if I wasn't 100 movies into the series and into Star Wars, because like there's so much of like, here's this thing that's happening, which I know I'm not making arguments for the movie. It gets backfilled later on by like pieces of information, books that come out, games, side stories, and I like that this universe is growing and getting crazier and wackier, and there's some interesting stories. There's some great stories that are not on film, like, and I think that filling that in will be fun over time. If that's not for you, that's fine.
Well, that's the thing, and this is my last couple points before we get on to your list. This really did feel like one of those Star Wars novels, like that was canon or non-canon, and you would read it, it's like, oh, Palpatine's back, and he's got a big ship. He made a bunch of ships, and now there's a final order instead of the new order. I mean, and they have to find the thing to get the thing. It really did feel like a Star Wars novel. I've
heard some people call it professional fan fiction, and there is an element of truth to that.
And then it just makes all the writing in The Last Jedi so much worse. I mean, those are some of my favorite lines, and they're so powerful. Like, you're nobody, you come from nothing. Or it's you come from nothing, you're nobody. But not to me. Like, that's Kylo Ren reaching out and being like, you're a special person, even though your past doesn't fucking matter. Take my hand.
I agree.
Let's rule the galaxy together.
I agree that was a great moment, but I had it slightly ruined for me, not by 9, but instead by someone saying, "Oh wow, I didn't realize that we had negging in a galaxy far, far away."
That's funny.
And I was like, "That's absolutely right."
It's great. Oh my god! All right, good list. Here's mine. My caveat on these lists, which what I was alluding to earlier, is that we've got 3 sets of movies that came out very far apart from each other. It's very difficult to actually rank them against each other. So this list is entirely my enjoyment with these movies and what I find to be the most fun, top to bottom.
Well, that's what it is. You're right. You're marrying quality with your own personal, like, they are the most opinion-based that they can be, because you may have a less good movie higher because you enjoy it more. And there's nothing wrong with that doing this.
Yeah, and I want that's going to probably be very clear soon. Number 1 on my list is Return of the Jedi. I have been a Jedi
you finally
fan.
cemented it? You're locking it in?
I'm locking in 6. Return of the Jedi.
You've been hamming and hawing over that for like 18 months.
I know, and it was in the rewatch that it got me. And I was like, yeah, I'm sticking to this one. I love Return of the Jedi. I've always had fun with that one. It was always the one that I rented the most as a child, and I would go back to it over and over again. The whole scene over the Sarlacc pit, I would rewatch that, just rewind it, play it again, over and over again. That's the one that really captured my imagination.
I interrupted Gary too many times during his list, but I'm going to try and do it less to wow. I'm going to try and do it less to your list, but the one thing I'll say about this is, for most of my life I've been with you, this was my favorite for a long time. Until as I got older, I realized there was something that was wrong, and I think we talked about it in the past. I know I've talked about it with Mike. Hey, Mike. And my brother as well. What's wrong with this movie, what hurts it for me a bit, is I don't like that they cut Darth Vader's balls off. Mm-hmm. I don't understand how it took me so long to see it. He picks
up the Emperor. He throws him.
No.
Super.
Yeah, but he's like fucking an emo kid for most of that movie. After being just terrifying in episodes 4 and 5, malicious, cruel, dominant, and now it is too late for me, son.
No, I think I like the conflict in him, and I also like that the
I don't have a
father
problem
figure thing
I don't have a problem with the conflict and all of that. I don't have a problem with the way that it goes with him redeeming his father. Totally good with all of that. It's purely in the execution. Okay. You know what I mean? I just have a problem with some of those lines where he sounds like he's on the brink of tears before we get to the point where, oh my God, I'm watching my son get tortured to death. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I always took that as he saw Luke being his equal for the first time.
He says this to him when he's got his handcuffs on and he surrendered himself.
No.
This is before they've gone back up to the Death Star. He's terrifying in episodes 4 and 5. Not scary for a single second in 6, other than the only moment they let him have his balls back temporarily is when he's hunting Luke hiding in the shadows and he discovers the truth about Leia. Mm-hmm. That's the only time and he says,
"Oh,
your sister. You have a twin sister." That's the only moment in the whole movie where he gets his balls back. The rest of it, you know what he is? He's basically Jonah Hill in 22 Jump Street when he's having the bad trip, and he's going like this with the Creed song, or with the Creed song going on while he's just like dancing and he's wearing the black. Like that's who he is through the most of the movie. I have a big problem with that, and it's one of the reasons why I love Rogue One so much, because
number 2, baby.
All right, so Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, is my number 1. Episode 7 is my number 2, and it is Star Wars Take 2.
Really?
Yep, Take 2, and I love it. I love every bit of it, and I watched it another 2 times before seeing Rise of Skywalker. Couldn't remember the name of it, and it is so well done to me, and I think every character is so much fun to watch, and I'm always gonna remember after all those years when we were sitting in the theater and the scrolls started, that's just gonna keep coming back every time I watch that specific movie, and it is just so much fun, and it opened the door for more story. Whether or not you're a fan of where that story went, I really liked that. Number 3 is going to be Empire Strikes Back. That's obviously that. It's gonna be in. I feel like if you like Star Wars, it's gonna be in your top 3 regardless. You've said enough about the movie already. You pretty much nailed it. It's tremendous. Number 4 for me is gonna be Episode 9. I had a lot of fun with that movie. I know it's not great. I know it's not for everyone. Upon rewatching it, I liked it even more.
Wait. Mm-hmm. Wait. Rise of Skywalker?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm surprised that you have that. I'm not surprised you have it high, because I know you like it more.
You're surprised I have it above 8, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm surprised.
8 is also above 4. We'll get to that. But no, Rise of Skywalker, I just really enjoyed, and upon rewatching it, I liked it even more. I just thought it was fun, and again, I knew story wise it made mistakes, but I still enjoyed it. I love the characters of Poe, Finn, and Rey together. I like that I got a handful of those scenes, and I just like the way that all those characters moved along throughout the story.
It was really good and really fun as a Star Wars. It's just not a very good movie.
Sucks.
Sure.
It's a fucking Marvel Transformers movie. It's awful. It's so bad. He shoots the lightning into space. How does he shoot the lightning into space?
It, for whatever reason, doesn't offend me as much as it's offending you.
Oh.
I actually liked him blasting the lightning into the sky. I thought that was cool.
That was so dumb. They didn't make up their mind. First, he wanted Ben to kill Rey, and then he wanted Rey to kill him, and then...
Mm-hmm.
I agree. There's a serious problem with that whole logic, and I actually didn't even... I kind of felt that coming out of the first time, and the second time I was like, no, this is bad, actually. That felt more broken than anything in Rogue One did.
I mean,
on because you could go listen to the episode 9 episode if you'd like, but the next one on my list is 8. Those two I kept flipping back and forth in the list until I locked it in.
I'm really surprised that you have 9 over 8.
Yeah, I don't know, there's just 9 feels more Star Warsy and 8 feels more unique. And that's why I think that's what eventually put 9 above it. But I love Last Jedi. I thought it was you know this. We've been painfully having to defend this movie for a very long time. And
Amazing.
I almost put it really high just like to make a point. But I had to be honest with what my favorites were going in. Episode 4, or Star Wars: A New Hope.
Yeah, wow.
Is like right in the middle there. It is. You can, if you want to, if we were like rating the movies at, like, as far as movies go, maybe I would put a little bit higher, but it's great. Star Wars is great. It got us into here, but it's because of that movie that I got all these other ones that I really enjoyed. And that's where it lands on the list for me.
That's fair.
Following up, Al will probably find this one as a surprise. Episode 1, I'm putting next. And it would have been episode 3, except I rewatched it recently, and it's a tough movie to actually get through. It's not great.
3?
Yeah. And 1 has more of a nostalgic draw for me. And that's just because I remember when Star Wars came back with episode 1, and I have all of those memories attached to it. Again, this is just my preference because of like all of this, like what I feel when I put those movies on. And I watched 1 so many times over and over again as a kid. So 4, 1, episode 3. Episode 3 at the end with Ewan McGregor, probably the best acting in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Overall.
I agree.
Which is unfortunately opposite the worst acting in a Star Wars movie.
He was great throughout the whole movie, but everything from when he goes to talk to Padme to the end, he just nails every single one that he has.
So after
Liar!
What?
You're with her.
Oh. No, not Hayden Christensen. Ewan McGregor.
I know. I just had to get it in there.
Sorry, I was super distracted. Did you just pull White Walker out of your freezer?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, baby.
So
They
following,
had it for $20 at the liquor store
That's a
near
good buy.
me, and I was like,
That is a good buy.
I had $20. So.
oh god! All right, following episode 3, we're gonna go Rogue One. The movie has grown on me since my initial watch, but it's still lower on the list. As Al mentioned, I'm not attached to any of the characters, and it felt more to me that was by design because they were going to kill all of them, and I just didn't like that. I would have preferred to be attached and completely destroyed at the end of the movie than to not be attached, and when everybody blow up, I would be like, eh.
They had to be responsible and understand that there was going to be another showing after you saw it, and they needed you to be able to get up and walk out of the theater.
so there's that. Followed up, next is on the list is Solo. I have fun with a lot of parts of Solo. I think the overall thing is a swing and a miss, but lots of mistakes as far as they probably should have just not. Honestly, with all the issues they had, I think Gary said a similar thing. They should have just skipped over it when they realized they were having such trouble.
Once it got to the point of hire an acting coach and fire the directors, maybe just stop then, because you can cut your losses then.
Yeah, I did like the portrayal of Lando. I thought that was great, and I also really enjoyed what was the droid's name?
L4?
That one.
L2?
Anyway,
something?
That relationship was very silly and very fun.
Castle Run? Visually stunning.
Yeah, that was incredible. It's funny, I think, was it Gary or Al, one of you said that the movie was like entirely too dark, like as far as being shot, like the lighting.
Gary said it, and I agree, especially that opening sequence when they're underground, like talking to that weird lizard, or not lizards, snake worm thing, whatever it is.
Yep.
Legitimately could not see what was going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that movie was specifically made to showcase HDR, in my opinion. If you have an HDR capable television, it looks really, really good, but I agree that is not the way to go about it. So that's the second to last. Then there's the holiday special. And then episode 2.
See, the funny thing is, holiday special technically isn't canon anymore, I don't think. So that's why it did not make it onto my list, because it would have firmly been, there would have been an open space and then another tier, and then that would have been the last one.
Right, but yeah, episode 2 is coming in at the very end of this list. I don't need to watch it again. That's how I feel about that movie.
If I want to watch it again, I really just want to watch the very end.
Sure. Yeah, fast forward. That's fine.
So I think we actually did all have pretty different lists, to be honest with you.
I feel like the spirit of most of it was pretty similar. There was some that dramatically changed. It doesn't like bother me that you have 9 higher than 8. I'm just genuinely surprised. Yep. Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised that I knew you liked 9 better than me, and I know that we both like 8 a lot. Mm-hmm. I'm just genuinely surprised.
Yeah. Upon rewatching 8 a couple more times, there were just a couple of slow pieces that just took me out. Episode 9 it moves continuously until it's over. Like there's no lull.
So the problem is it moves too much.
Okay, well, Rise of Skywalker is so much worse than that. I mean, we go to like planets in the first 20 minutes, but I think we're on the same side on this one anyway, because you were saying that you like The Last Jedi more than Rise of Skywalker anyway, so... there were some minor issues that I had with The Last Jedi, like the Holdo stuff, like why can't you just tell Poe Dameron what the plan is and whatnot, but when I got to Rise of Skywalker, it's just like, holy shit, what?
Well, we don't have to relitigate it anymore, but it's...
Darth Vader and the TIE Fighter are like, what?
I think that was a fun cathartic exercise.
And if I had one of the ways that helped make that decision easier is one of those 2 movies gave me Babu Frick. So
yeah, that's true. I like Babu Frick. Okay,
everyone likes Babu Frick.
Oh, he's so good.
Yeah.
It really is all summed up with one line. Babu Frick.
But the endgame moment is very inexcusable. I think we should really reflect on this. I mean, it's a year and a half, or it's a year and a half after actual endgame, and somehow
it's like 8 months after endgame.
Yeah.
Is it? Oh my god. Oh, 2019 was so long. Make it stop.
Oh my god. That's great.
Yeah, it's funny because in the moment, it didn't really... But like by the time I was in the car leaving the first one, I was like, oh, that ending ripped off Endgame a lot.
Yeah, because even the photos that kind of look the same, like the visual, it was kind of like gold sort of rings.
You see the circle open. That would have been the time to cross the universes.
Right?
You just see Doctor Strange doing his thing.
All I know is if Lando had said on your left, I would have got up and walked out of the theater.
Amazing. Do you have any other news and nuggets?
No, that's it.
All right, then, just to keep the tradition alive, we got fun and games.
Oh, I forgot about fun and games! I always forget except for that one time.
This is going to be... I'm going to try to do this... for both of you, so you could each give me an answer. This is going to be difficult because the quiz, for whatever reason, takes up like a lot of space on the screen. All right, here we go. This is from BuzzFeed. Everyone's personality matches a 2019 movie. Who are you? I feel like it was very fitting for what we did. So here we go. Choose a phrase from 2019. Sorry to do this, man. I'm baby, and I oop. I don't know who needs to hear this. I just took a DNA test, and it shows no man has all 3. Hey kids, spelling is fun.
No man has all 3.
Okay.
I'm disappointed because what I was about to say should have been one of them, and I was going to say there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the spelling one just because I forgot some of the ones in the beginning.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. All right, choose a random celebrity photo from this year. Now, I know you can't see the photos. So, luckily, they have captions under them because this is accessibility friendly. Adam Sandler dressed as a piece of toast. Dua Lipa carrying 2 pumpkins. Ashley Graham losing her hat. Liam Hemsworth taking a spill off of his surfboard. Rihanna in feathers. Shaq about to jump into the ocean. I think I should just pick that for both of you. It's a tremendous picture. I can't describe it, but it's amazing. Michael Douglas using FaceTime and Justin Bieber falling off a unicycle.
I'm going to go with Shaq.
Michael. Which Michael was it?
Michael
Douglas. Michael Douglas using FaceTime.
All right. Choose a song from 2019. Motivation, Old Town Road, Harmony Hall, Juice, Bad Guy, Sucker, How Do You Sleep, Seven Rings.
I don't know most of those songs, but I'm going to go with Bad Guy.
Okay.
Seven Rings.
Awesome. Choose a TV show from this year. The Mandalorian, Pen 15, The Morning Show, The Umbrella Academy, Euphoria, The Politician, The Boys, Russian Doll.
Ooh. Some good shows on there. Also, I definitely meant to bring up The Politician during the honorable mentions, but I'm going to go with Mandalorian.
Okay.
Euphoria.
I knew that was coming. I already selected that one, actually. Choose a trend from 2019. TikTok, Keto, Marie Kondo, Climate Strike Fridays, Vibe Check, Hydro Flasks, VSCO Girls, Beyond Burgers.
I hate that list so much.
TikTok.
Keto?
Okay. Beautiful. And finally, choose a look from this year's Met Gala. Again, I'm just going to tell you who the people are. Lady Gaga, Cardi B, Awkwafina, Zendaya, Saoirse Ronan. That's how you spell her name?
Yes.
Jared Leto, Billy Porter, Kendall, and Kylie Jenner.
Saoirse Ronan.
I'm going to Jared Leto on this one.
Jared Leto.
I thought you were going to go with Zendaya.
I was.
All right.
I left it open. You were going to take it.
Holy crap. Gary, you got us.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing. You have an unspoken duality to your personality and can charm others with ease. You're always finding excitement in your life and are always down for an adventure.
See, I always think that these quizzes are bullshit, but now I'm starting to question that.
Right? Same. I just assumed that it was going to be the one where you picked a movie, and it was going to be that one.
Right.
Al, you got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Nice.
You're classic. You're old school. You're all the good things about an era from long ago. Despite getting into a healthy amount of trouble, you radiate good vibes.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty good. That was one of the better ones, I feel like, that we've done in a while. All right.
I don't necessarily agree with the movie, but I kind of like the description.
Yeah, the description was good. It was fitting for you. All right. With that, let us get into our flick of the week. Uncut Gems, released in 2019 and rated R. A charismatic New York City jeweler always on the lookout for the next big score makes a series of high-stakes bets that could lead to the windfall of a lifetime. Howard must perform a precarious high-wire act balancing business, family, and encroaching adversaries on all sides in his relentless pursuit of the ultimate win. That is your IMDb synopsis for Uncut Gems. And that's my review.
Come on.
Open a new beer because this is a chock-full episode with a lot of stuff going on. And just for the record, just to torment Anthony, I'm just gonna let you know.
I know
it's a Treehouse beer.
I saw you drinking the beer already. All right, I hate you for it.
It's a juice machine. If you want to take a look.
Okay. All right.
Juice machine. Do
we want to do tweet length reviews of this movie?
Sure. Go for it.
A compelling, anxiety-inducing snapshot of the culmination of a lifetime of bad choices by a bad dude.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had this much of a good time in a long while.
Ooh.
I love watching KG in his prime, even as a Lakers fan. And Sandman's better than ever.
I thought you were going to say I haven't had this good of a time since Good Time.
Oh, God.
I'm not that bad of a writer, Al.
No, but you like that movie. It would have been perfect wordplay.
Oh, we're going to get to it.
Shitty people doing shitty things and me hoping the whole time they get what they deserve.
Ah.
See, that's the one thing I'll say here. Before we get to spoilers, before we get to the movie, at least in these movies, these people get what they deserve. Because I would be so much more irritated if they didn't.
Oh, yeah. I agree. I agree with that piece of it. Here's the thing: as a whole, I'm not terribly offended. Like, the story that they want to tell, I actually think it's a decent story that they're trying to tell. I gave Al my score earlier of a 4.
Did you? I didn't actually remember you giving me a score.
The 4 comes from, like, the actual good parts that it does. I do think that there's a story there that is interesting and worth exploring once. This is not a movie that I ever intend to watch again. And I think that's okay for movies like that to exist, and I do think that they can get higher scores if they're better made. This movie is not well shot. I think the cinematography for their movies is absolute garbage, and I do not like it.
I disagree. I thought it was shot better than Good Time. I thought everything about this was better than Good Time, actually. I wouldn't necessarily say that I liked this movie, but I found it so much more compelling than that movie.
Oh, absolutely. It's better than it's a pile of trash that's better than that pile of trash.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like, because you were really concerned, and I was concerned because I wasn't as offended by Good Time as you were, but I still didn't like the movie. Mm-hmm. I was compelled. I wanted to know what was going on. You know what I mean? Like, this story left me like, ooh, what's that about? What's this about? You know, I felt like this world was actually, like, lived in. Mm-hmm. Like, it felt real to me. It felt like a living, breathing organism, unlike Good Time.
And that's a credit to the performances.
But it's also a credit to the script, too.
Yeah.
It's just a better story overall. Or I keep using the word more compelling. I was genuinely intrigued to know what was going on here. I wanted to know about these characters, their motivations, what they were choosing to do. I hated all of them. Mm-hmm. I wanted them to go away ultimately, but I was intrigued throughout the course of it.
This is weird. I couldn't disagree with you guys more. I mean,
you didn't think it was compelling?
No, I thought it was compelling. I thought it was a good fucking movie. I thought Good Time is a great fucking movie. I think Good Time is a much more streamlined premise where it goes A to B to C to D. It just goes right down the line. Whereas this was just more of a snapshot in this guy's life. I thought it was very interesting, some of the shots they even went with, or some of the story ideas. Like, there's a whole 20-minute section where they just go to Philadelphia for no reason, consequently. And there's just nothing that's ever resolved. Like, he doesn't get the opal back from KG. It's just 15 to 20 minutes that's used on that. Whereas Good Time is just, it keeps going down the line. Like, okay, you have the heist, and it goes wrong, and it's all of the aftermath from that. Where this is, yes, Adam Sandler gets the opal from South Africa, and some things happen, but his life interacts with that so much more. Where it's some of the consequences of what he's already doing mixed with his big score, which he thinks this opal is going to pay for all of his debts. Much more than that, I mean, while we're on non-spoilers, these movies need to be made. These types of movies need to exist. Everything can't be Star Wars or Marvel or... I mean, Knives Out was a very good movie with ideas, and it was Original Us. There were other movies this year that did some stuff, but, you know, sometimes you have to see the perspective of the bad guy, and everything has to not work out, because why would it always work out? That doesn't make any sense. So if those are non-enjoyable aspects or things for you guys, that's fine.
I don't think either of us really has a problem with that piece of it. I agree with you. I think that those are one and done movies for me, and I like them. They cut off rewatchability usually. There's a handful of exceptions, but these particular movies have gotten a lot of traction and have been held to a high standard, and these are just not in a bad way. They're amateur filmmakers, and I don't think that they are there yet. But they're getting too much praise for where they're at right now. I think that they will get there based on what I've seen and the trajectory from Good Time to this. I do think that they have the ability to get there, But I think they're getting a little bit. There's too much praise there, and they need a little bit more criticism. Specifically, my biggest issues with the movie are cinematography.
See, I actually didn't have a. I actually liked some of the cinematography in this. That's not my thing with it. I actually agree with a lot. Up until that point, I agree with a lot of what you said, Ant. Mm-hmm. And I'm just as confused as you as why people love these two movies so much, because I've read, especially after we recorded Good Time, I read a ton of reviews about that movie because I just didn't understand what the disconnect was. Because that's for me, that's been a big thing. I've talked about it a bunch on the show, right? Like or dislike a thing, but understand it.
Sure. Be
able to embrace it. Like then our conversation about Star Wars, especially like Episode 8. You don't have to like it, just understand it. And I don't understand it, despite, like I said, reading, like, I probably read 10 reviews, glowing reviews of Good Time. I still don't get it. Because even when I got to a point where I was able to, like, factually agree with a lot of things written, I didn't understand why they were positives. Or, like, why it elevated it from, yeah, it was fine, to amazing. Because I think I filled my quota on the films from the Safdie brothers. They're interesting movies. I actually think they're talented filmmakers, but I just feel like dirty and depressed when they're done.
Good.
And I don't need. The thing is, I don't need movies to have a happy ending. That's a fight I get in with my dad a lot about movies. Like, he needs like sunshine and rainbows, and like, movie can be dark and depressing in its subject matter, but there's no redeeming qualities to anything that happens on screen with either movie.
I would disagree with Good Time, because he's someone who wants to take care of his brother who has special needs, and that's set up. That's the end game, is he wants to put his brother in a better place. In this movie,
he didn't achieve that by his actions. If he had done
his
a bunch of terrible things,
and that's the point of the movie.
But he accomplishes that by accident. If he had actually set out on a path to steal the money to put him in the place and then use that money and took the consequence, that's not what happened. He just turns himself in to allow his brother to get taken care of.
Right.
And the same thing with this. He didn't like sacrifice himself in the end to get Julia or to get his wife and kids, who deserved it a lot more, money to take care of. Like, that didn't happen.
I understand. That's my bigger problem in this movie. In terms of what the stakes are, like exactly how much does he owe to this guy who's his uncle or not his uncle. I mean, I think the unanswered questions
I was super confused by that too.
Are much more interesting, and that it's a movie that makes you think for a couple days. And it just has elements that are very well acted and very good, and Adam Sandler punches The Weeknd. And I think we have to keep that in mind.
No, there was some good performances, no doubt. And I actually want to talk about a lot of that later. But I'm still just like, big picture here. Like, that's not an unanswered question to ponder. They didn't fucking answer the question. It's just bad storytelling. Who was that guy? Is it his uncle? Is it his brother-in-law?
Yeah, I didn't get that.
I thought it was clearly his brother-in-law. What did I miss?
Okay. Well, it's just never actually...
I think it was his brother-in-law. I just don't think it was clearly his brother-in-law.
Oh, I thought the conversation that he has with, I was actually more confused. Is that his dad or her dad when they were having that conversation?
Is that his father-in-law? I didn't understand, and that's never explained.
Yeah, Judd Hirsch.
Okay.
Can we switch to spoilers, or I'm done until spoilers?
Oh, well, okay. The one thing that I will say, here's my gripe with the cinematography was the fact that what they were doing, they did effectively, like, of making you feel anxious, like so anxious with the shooting of the movie, and like you know how I feel about the camera being too close to your face. That's one thing. You can't do that the whole movie, and they did. And that's a mistake. That's very nauseating. The mechanic of making you feel like you're in this crowd of this chaos that's happening is a really great mechanic. But not when you do the whole way through. You have to use it sparingly and use it to effect. Like it didn't.
I actually disagree with that. I liked it because it is an element of creating that anxiety.
Yeah, I mean, are you guys the New Yorkers? Like, none of this felt you know.
Well, he's from Staten Island, and I'm from an hour north of the city, so I like that the camera. I mean, listen, yeah, could they have backed off some faces occasionally? Sure, but overall, you're supposed to feel like the walls are closing in on you because they're closing in on him. Mm-hmm. And the best thing that this movie does is I want him to get the fuck out of my face so badly because he's such a scumbag. Mm-hmm. But somehow I'm still rooting for him throughout a lot of the movie, even though I'm like, why am I rooting for him? So I actually thought that was a good case because I never rooted for the Robert Pattinson character in Good Time.
Oh, I was just rooting for Elsa to divorce him.
Oh, I want to get to that later because I was so confused by her casting in this movie, but she was great because my very limited exposure to her is as Elsa, and this was very, very different character, and I thought she nailed it.
Yeah, she's good.
But we're
talking about Idina Menzel.
If you're gonna have super dark and depressing and bad, and the bad guys are gonna get their due, which is good, you gotta balance the negativity a little bit, and there's just no balance to this movie. It followed the same script as Good Time. By the time I was halfway through the movie, I basically knew what was going on.
Sure.
By the time he places the big bet, I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I almost called it verbatim what was going to happen.
Mm.
So I was kind of let down at the end because I was like, it feels like that movie is setting you up for a big moment at the end. And the moment was big, but I knew it was going to happen almost. Like, I probably got it 97% right.
97.
Yeah, and we can get into that a little more post-spoiler, but, they have a formula, even though they're trying to, it feels like it's being sold to me as something that's, you're going to be shocked every time you see one of their movies. I'm like, but I'm super not shocked because you keep doing the same thing. It's a different story with different people, but pull out to, the 50,000-foot view, and it's just bad people doing bad things, and then they get their desserts because they shouldn't get to win. Which, again, credit to them. They shouldn't get to win. These people shouldn't get to win. And they don't, but that's, that's coming.
I think those are still conflicting ideas. It's not shocking as much as I didn't see it happening. And I think a very good stretch of this movie that kind of portrays that is after they leave the club. And Adam Sandler fights the Weeknd, and he's yelling at his mistress. And it's just, medium close-up shots of both of them. And it's exactly what you would hear an angry couple leaving, a New York City club or whatever. It's fuck you and all of that. And it's just at that point, we're halfway through the movie. It's where is this going? What's going to happen? What's with the mistress? I thought the mistress thing was tied up at another part of the movie a little later on, too. So, it did really keep me guessing, even though, Al, ultimately you thought it was going to end a certain way. How it was going to get there for me was very, up in the air.
Well, the one thing I'll say, I was a little confused, and this is probably actually a little bit to Anthony's point about some of the specific scenes in cinematography. Some of it's also just maybe I wasn't literally paying close enough attention in them. But for a while in that movie, maybe halfway through the movie, I thought that the girl who worked at his shop and the mistress were two separate characters. And so I was really confused.
Oh, okay.
For a minute, I didn't know the girl I didn't realize that the girl he was with was Julia, and that the girl that he working for him was Julia. I thought the girl who worked for him was Julia, and then there was just some other mistress who I didn't ever catch her name because her look changed.
Way through the movie, I was like, her name's Julia too. That's bad writing.
No. What happened? No. You know what happened was I didn't get her name, the mistress's name, or it didn't register for me, and I knew there was a girl who worked there who was named Julia. I knew who was banging this mistress was a photographer. Separate characters until the thing happens at the club, and he says, "I don't want to see you at the shop tomorrow." I was like, "Oh my god, that's the same girl."
Julia.
Yeah, no, that's funny. Let's get to spoilers real quick.
Let's do it.
Spoilers. The veil has been lifted. Yeah, no. The second he put the bet in, I was like, "Oh, he's gonna win, and they're still gonna kill him, aren't they?" And then as soon as he locked him in the room, I was like, oh, they're going to watch the game together and he's going to win the bet and he's going to go to celebrate them and they're going to kill him for real. Mm-hmm. And then that's exactly what happened. I was like, yeah, that's super disappointing.
No, I mean, you're right about that. I mean, if you guess that, you guess that.
But it's like exactly, I don't know. Like it was kind of the same way I felt about Good Time. It's like, oh, so he's gonna just get arrested, and it's gonna be kind of deflating, isn't it? And he got arrested, and it was kind of deflating. Like I don't know.
But more the unanswered questions, and I don't know if this is like a purposeful like storytelling device or whatever, but. I mean, that one guy who seemed to be under control of his, father-in-law or cousin, whoever this guy is.
Let's call him
like
brother-in-law, because I think that's what he was.
Brother-in-law. So he shoots both of them, and it seemed like the brother-in-law was like in charge when they kidnap him or grab him outside of the pageant or whatever. Mm-hmm. So that dynamic shift, I think, was very interesting. It just doesn't really go anywhere.
Yeah, it was interesting, except for the problem, like, while they're in the car, like, when they grab him at the pageant, I'm like, who's in charge? Because you're clearly just a henchman, and the other dude is pulling your strings, but also you're bossing him around, like, a lot. And so by the end, I was not surprised at all when he killed him, too.
I think that goes to Gary's point of, like, the snapshot in this guy's life. This has been going on for a while, and these two cronies have been, like, just taking it in stride because they've been told to, and he's had enough, and he's ready to explode.
Definitely.
So much so as was that a elbow to the throat twice? Like, well, he was like he was really looking forward to doing that. Yeah. Eventually, he lost his shit because he was still. Howie was still getting away with it when they were locked in the in that little booth, and you could see it on his face. Like, you know where that scene's going. I feel like, because every time you just focus on his eyes, he's ready to kill him. He doesn't care. The other guy's like almost getting excited, like, wow, we're gonna get our money back. He doesn't give a shit, and I feel like you know what's going down when it.
And I was just sitting there that whole scene because, like you said, you can see clearly in his eyes. And I'm just like, dude, buzz them out and be like, yeah, we're going to give you the money. And he opens the door. It's like, okay, yep, so I was right. He's going to get killed. And boom, like right then and there. It's like, yeah, no preamble. We're just going to go ahead and do it. And, like, his brother-in-law is, like, really stupid because, like, he could have just sat there and rode out the storm. And he keeps making, like, an issue of trying to, like, protest or, like, escape. And it's like, dude, you're fine. You can get out of this. You'll have lost your money, whatever. But, like, in the end, what does it matter? Like, you clearly have money if you have that much money to loan out to people and shit like that or whatever. Also, I'm like, I wasn't 100% sure if he was like another bookie or if he's just like loaning him the money. But if he's just loaning him the money, he's clearly some sort of criminal because he's got thugs working for him. Yeah. I'm genuinely and generally confused as to who that guy is because I agree. I think it was his brother-in-law, but like, there's never a scene where he's talking to his wife.
At the dinner table, he's sitting next to that woman, and they were sitting next to their spouses at the...
No, he's not. He's never sitting next to Adam Sandler's wife, though, right?
No.
That's what I'm saying. If he's his brother-in-law, like, I would assume that
He's definitely... What I gathered from it was he's not blood, but they were at the same family affairs twice.
Yeah.
And the father-in-law was talking to him and clearly likes Howie, but doesn't like the other one. I think he was, and he has daughters, and I think he was like,
so he's with him. His wife is Adam Sandler's wife's sister.
That's what I think. Yes.
Okay, that would make more sense.
The fact that I'm saying that's what I think is a flaw, right?
Yes, I totally agree with you.
Delivered properly.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a flaw as much as we're supposed to have this discussion after the movie. And it's just purposefully not explained. So
no, because it was like a big moment when he shows up at dinner, and it's like, oh, okay, so like this isn't just some guy. Like they know each other. Mm-hmm. They like literally one sentence, just the two women talking to each other, where it makes it very clear they're sisters. Done. That's all you need.
Yeah,
you don't need to be like, hello, brother-in-law. Like doesn't have to be that. Just literally like 1 second when they're talking to each other. And the thing is, she's wearing the dress, right? And like all the women come in there and like start like, and one of those women is probably the guy's wife.
Probably.
I don't remember which women was which.
I think what we ended up in that scene. This is, again, I don't know why I'm going this deep into it, but in that scene with the family, there's reference to the cousins with all the little kids running around. Then there's at the table the adults that are paired off. There's really only enough of them for that to be the case.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
Whatever.
But it's confusing that I have to be confused by this.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't think everything has to be answered.
But that's not the type of thing that needs to be left up for debate.
You're probably right, but don't you get more from it from us having this conversation as opposed to being like, I'm Jimmy, I'm your brother-in-law?
No, I totally agree. If they're doing that, that's really bad writing, but there's more than one way to have bad writing.
It just scrolls across the screen. It freezes and it says brother-in-law.
The dead speak.
Or when they're sitting at the table together, oh my god, my brother-in-law, to whom I owe money many, many dollars.
Exactly, and that's never explained, and that's some of the few problems I have is that the stakes are never explained. I never know when Adam Sandler has enough money that he can just pay these people off and walk away.
Didn't they say?
I assume that it happens. I don't think it's ever actually said.
I thought they. I don't remember the value, but I thought they said it at one point because
I think the 175 is enough when he gets it from KG.
I thought the $100,000 was the debt.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I do think they say it at some point.
They did.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just not. Yeah, it's not super important, but I do think it is.
No.
I think it's. No, you know what's funny though? I think that information's in the movie. The whole showing where the gems are coming from and the opening of the movie, that's detail explaining to you this origin of this rock, and we're confused about whether or not this guy is his brother-in-law. That's
a good point. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought I walked into the wrong movie for about 4 I was
confused too, but I actually ended up liking that whole little bit of that intro.
I was sitting in my seat waiting for the movie to start, and a couple walked in and came over to the group of us that were sitting there, and she goes, F7 and F8? And I was like, yes. These are my seats. And she was holding her ticket. She's like, these are our seats. And I let me see your tickets. And we went to the movie at 7:30, and the showtime on her ticket was 4:05. And I was like, this is for 4:05. And she just looks at me and she goes, how is this possible? And I was like, I don't have no more answers for you.
I don't know, lady.
I don't. When he gets shot in the face, I was like, good. And I saw it coming. I was like, because when he's crying on the phone and he's bawling his eyes out and he's like, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm like, yeah, you are. And I don't feel bad for you. Fucking grow up. And figure this shit out.
I think that's why the mistress becomes more important. Because ultimately she gets the $1 million and a clean play because of
Cowboy Carrot.
Yeah, I was going to say George Hamilton.
Some George Hamilton vibes.
We don't know exactly what happens in that hotel room, but that's very cool. And the two goons, they're just kind of stuck there, and she rolls away from Foxwoods with everything.
Whoa. I thought they had an amazing dinner. That's what I got, right? When the chef's supposed to be...
I just got to take a shower, honey.
Honey.
Yeah, they were on two very different wavelengths. But for just a minute, when he's walking out with the money, I was like, oh, God.
Did he kill her?
Yeah. That ticket, didn't he? Because, everyone else, she was pretty shitty most of the movie, so I was like, yeah, sure. Like I said, the one, redeeming thing to all of this is, the shitty people get what they deserve for the most part. But
except for the two henchmen.
Going back to but the thing is, those dudes killed some people. There's definitely cameras in there. Oh, yeah. Those guys are not getting away. You know what I mean?
No, and then there's the smash and grab. They just take whatever from his shop.
Yeah, there's no way those guys ended up winning in the end. So I was like good with that because I was like, yeah, like you guys think you're making out here, you're not. But I actually want to go back to that scene you're talking about where he's crying and the thing with him, like him and Julia reconcile. It's funny because she was like, I thought she was like super shitty because like she's like, say what you will about having a mistress, whatever. They're clearly committed to each other in their way, right? And I was like, oh, that's fucked up. Like she's gonna get the allure of it's the weekend or whatever, and whether or not you like him or not. Like it's celebrity and all that, and it's like her jump off her and there's cocaine involved and whatever. And I was like, oh, that's super shitty because like he's giving you everything. You get a job, you get that apartment, you get lavish gifts and everything. So like a modicum of loyalty is expected in that situation. But by the time like she just like refuses to take no for an answer, and he's like so broken. And if I was her, I would have been like, fuck no, I'm out of here. You are such a loser. And like she did the exact opposite of that, which I kind of bought the contrition in that moment. So I was kind of glad she got away with the money because for a while I was like, I didn't want her to die, but like I was like, oh yeah, she should probably be left out in the cold here to a certain extent. I kind of like that she made out with
the
money.
wife to end up with it to some like in some fashion.
Oh, unquestionably, I would prefer the wife to because it feels
until the call came in that he was all clear. I just thought that this movie was going to be, it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. He's going to win a bunch of money and get out of it and die of cancer. I didn't think it.
Did you guys ever?
No, I'm serious. And then when he got the call, then it changed into he's going to get murdered.
Did you guys ever see the movie The Counselor?
No.
It's actually based on a book by Cormac McCarthy, the same guy who wrote The Road and No Country for Old Men. That movie was even more dark and depressing than this one because, spoiler alert, everyone dies. Everyone, even like the bad guys and the good guys, everyone dies except for like one person. And I thought that's what was going on in this movie. So I was glad a couple of people made it out, like meaning like Julia and like the wife and kids, because like in that movie, the equivalent of the Indina Menzel character also gets killed for literally no reason.
Oh yeah,
and
well,
it's like
they played to that too with him calling her to get her out of the house.
Sure, and I appreciated that despite the fact that he clearly was ready to just leave her for the fuck of it, really. Because, like, sure, she's a bitch.
No, she was done with him, I thought. Cause she knew about...
but, like, he was just kind of letting it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, he kind of wants her back at one point. He goes back.
Yeah, but that was only after he gets rid of Julia.
Yeah.
He thought he had his golden parachute, and then he's like, oh, she was going to fuck that rapper. I guess I could try and fix it with my wife. But like we're only given the option of she's a bitch on screen, but I'm like, hell yeah, she's a bitch. Look at what she's married to. This dude is.
Oh, I didn't get the impression that she was a bitch. I just thought she was the only right person.
Angry. Yeah.
What I'm saying is her bitchiness was justified. Is what I'm saying. You know, I'm like no, there's like no question she was being bitchy to him, but because he's an asshole, because he's openly cheating on her with a girl in this apartment that he's paying for.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought it was so interesting, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again from like the mistress's perspective, and maybe she's actually the protagonist of the movie. She winds up with the movie or the money or something like that. Much more than that, you know. I mean, you're right. Idina Menzel is very good, but I mean, this guy is like, he's well, nobody's going to do bad after he dies. Like, they have the house, he drives a Mercedes, like he said, they have the town car.
Yeah, I guess it's not like real life debt. It's like gangster debt.
No. I mean, these people are
it's not like it's like the IRS coming to collect, right? It was like her brother-in-law. He's also dead, so.
But I mean, he also clearly, the majority of his money is not legit, so I would imagine. And then once they start investigating his murder, it is going to blow up on them to some degree. I'm sure that's not going to all sunshine and rainbows after the fact.
Yeah, probably.
Probably not, but also her dad clearly has money, so like,
sure.
She's probably fine. Like, because he bought the fucking gem for $100,000.
His dad didn't get that money back, so...
Oh, good point. But still,
That's a lot of money.
if he had enough to do it, then he's probably fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, I know you made a big point of, like, you better pay me back, but it didn't sound like I'm going to be out of my house over that money. It's just like, go fuck yourself because I'm out of that money. Mm. You know what I mean?
This kid just wanted to meet KG.
By the way, KG, pretty good. Usually athletes, even when they're playing themselves, don't do a very good job of it. I thought he was really strong, even though he was playing like a fictionalized version of himself.
KG. I mean, he looked exactly like himself.
I mean
oh God.
I mean, I always find it interesting when people play a fictionalized version of themselves, because usually it's a parody of themselves, right? Like, you're not coming off looking your best. Like, how often do you, like, unless it's like a very quick cameo type of thing, like, how often do you look better than you actually are? You know what I mean? Usually you end up looking worse. In this case, he does. Like, he looks like a nut, right? Like, because he's fucking obsessed with this gem. He just goes AWOL with this thing that the dude's like, this is worth $1 million. Don't fucking go missing with my gem. And then he does exactly that. So I thought that was interesting that he, like, does all that, and it was pretty convincing. You should be able to play yourself, but I'm sure I wouldn't play myself well on camera. So
the premise of him actually letting him take the gem, like, from the get-go is flawed.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Even though he takes the ring as collateral. Insane.
No. It's
well, he immediately cashes in the ring, and then
which even more insane, but...
No, that piece isn't insane, because I think the one thing that was done really, really well is showing the addiction to gambling that he has, and really did that well. Adam Sandler was phenomenal in the movie.
I thought he was on that bet. I think it all lines up because he wants to hit on that bet.
Mm-hmm.
No, I agree that it's totally something that character would do. Yeah. No question. But everything that character would do is insane, and none more than that.
Well, you got to have a movie, Al.
I get it. I'm just saying, like, are you serious? Fucking KG's ring, you're just gonna go pawn that? Like, what the shit? But and that's why I said I found this movie compelling, because he goes down the street and he goes to that pawn shop and he gives the ring, and he has a relationship with these two guys there who are evaluating the ring and who are gonna stake him the collateral, right? I want to know more about what's going on there, what goes into that relationship, but I don't need to know more. You know what I mean? I want to, but I don't need to. Yeah. That is compelling storytelling, right?
And they have his 73 Knicks ring forever, which is funny.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot, because he died while it was out there, yeah. That's but because even at the end of it, right, like, they're pretty, like, they put their foot down right away. Like, no, we're not fucking around. But when he comes back, he's like, are you okay? Like, he, like, seems genuinely concerned even while all this is going on. He's like, dude, are you okay?
There's those other two collectors too, like the short ball guys. I mean, it's very good world building when it just drops you into where you are.
Mm-hmm. Because it's all building on the layers, right? Of Anthony is saying, of like the portrayal of how bad his addiction is, where it's like, fuck, it's not just to this guy, it's that too.
Mm-hmm. The guy with the I want to know more about the cast on that guy's arm and like what's going on with him. That wacky collector. Oh man.
The Francesa part was good. They probably used him the perfect amount anymore, and he probably would have been annoying or really showed off how not good of an actor he is. I also thought that it was just perfect to his temperament. Like, he's just doesn't have time for this shit, you know?
The stupidest bet I've ever heard.
Yeah. The thing is, he's absolutely right. It is one. First of all, that guy put multiple bets across multiple different games on the first tip. Why would you ever? That is how you know you have a problem. The first tip.
But also at the end when that happens with the tip, and he's like, oh, that was like everything right there.
Yeah, no shit. It is literally a coin flip. You're literally betting on a coin flip.
Oh man.
I mean, hell, people do it, right? Super Bowl. There's odds on it if it's going to come up heads or tails. Which is fucking.
So the movie has a lot of there's a bunch of cameos in it, a lot that I didn't notice while I was watching it and like saw after the fact.
I had a note about that too. I was like, "Fuck!" I didn't even realize all these people were.
The best is Mr. Cleo McDowell.
Oh yeah! Oh my god! When he's explaining to his son, like, "Oh, this guy was in Welcome to America." Oh my god,
that was good. There was no like I don't know like what chain of events led to that he was there for that movie for that scene, but that is really silly. Like to throw that in there for like it's completely throwaway.
Yes, it was basically just a flex if we could get this random like D-list actor. There was a few others too. Did not realize the voice on the phone of the appraiser was Tilda Swinton. Mm-hmm. Did not realize that the sports agency woman was Natasha Lyonne.
Right.
Did not realize Palm Clementieff was in this movie. Who even was she? Did you guys notice she was in the movie?
No.
She's in the cast. She played Lexus. I don't even know who the fuck that was.
I don't know.
At one point early on, was that? Wait, hang on. Is that the sister-in-law? No.
Probably not, because she's too young, I think. But
wasn't there other workers in the gem store, like in the first couple scenes?
Yeah, was one of them was the one who kept home? Was that wife, like actual wife in real life?
Wait, sorry, say that again. You broke up on me.
So the woman who was like answering the phone, who like had a couple of lines, was that Adam Sandler's wife?
I don't know. I didn't
because I just noticed she looked kind of familiar, and I was like, that might be his wife in real life. Because I know she usually is like in the background of somewhere, or like, and I don't know what the character's name was. I didn't get a chance to look through and see if it was her or not. But, but yeah, what's her name is like, I don't even know who she was. I don't remember recognizing her. Admittedly, I've only seen her in Guardians of the Galaxy, and she looks ridiculous. Those fucking prosthetic like thing on top of her head, and like she has blonde hair in real life, and she's got black hair in that movie. So like, it's gonna be tough for me to pick her out. But I had no idea she was in the movie until I looked at the IMDb later. Like,
yeah,
I just generally have no idea who she was. I'm trying to like scroll through here and see if I can figure out if that woman was his wife or not, because she looked familiar, and I was wondering if that's who it was.
I think part of my immediate gut reaction of just anger watching the movie is actually doing art right is getting you to respond this way. But one of my biggest pet peeves is like people who think they deserve something or are owed something, and they're really shitty, and like they don't, but they really think that they do, and it bothers me. And Adam Sandler did that really well. And I said it in passing before, but like as much as I didn't care for the movie, and I thought that there were problems with the way that it was shot, if you wanted to nominate him for something, I think that would be well within the rights. I think he was really good.
I thought he was really good, but I think some of the like praise of his role in this was a little bit overdone. Like he was really good, but I actually don't really think it was like best actor.
Okay, I don't know who else you could put in this movie that pulls it off, though. I mean, it's very difficult. It's very hard to get somebody that's so compelling, but also so shitty. And I think it goes back to some of the stuff we were talking about in the stakes in the movie, like how much does he actually owe? What could he do? He could probably sell his Mercedes. I mean, he could probably liquefy some actual things if he wanted to, but he just chooses to not to. And he doubles down on all these gambling bets, and you see how he is. And that was a big twist for me originally when his brother-in-law or whoever cancels his initial bet. Mm-hmm. Where it's like, what? You canceled the bet? I mean, that was huge. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
Also, I'm not aware of any bookie that will cancel your bet on behalf of someone else.
Well, I think that was supposed to be like a power move of you are supposed to get some inkling of like what kind of pull this guy has, but they really didn't dip too much further into that.
The thing is, you're absolutely right in your assessment there. But again, that is a knock on this where like, who the fuck is this guy?
Right. Right.
Because, yeah, I agree. You're right. It was definitely meant to be a power move.
It's easier to take those two guys at the pawn shop in passing as world building and history that exists that you don't really need to know about because they're not front and center.
Yes.
He's front and center. You need to know more about what's going on there.
Well, the other thing is, those guys fit a clear, defined role. Mm-hmm. We know who they are. They're high-end pawnbrokers. Mm-hmm. Again, like, I'm curious about the specifics of their relationship with him a little bit, right? Where you would have the fact that they're willing to put out that much money on him, the fact that they have a running issue with him, but still are willing to give him the money begrudgingly, and finally, that on a personal level, they kind of seem to care.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting to me, that whole dynamic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Who the fuck is Arno? Which literally the whole movie, I thought his name was Arnold. But whatever. But no, I genuinely thought Sandler was really good. I thought, it's going to take me a long time to get over. I've never really seen like an outwardly lecherous Adam Sandler. Like him sitting in the closet, like texting her and like looking at her and shit like that.
Yeah, that was good.
It was good, but it was, on the other hand, it was like, okay, like he's always been immature, and like there's been like jokes about like literally like boobies and stuff like that with Adam Sandler, right?
There was a missed opportunity for a recycled Billy Madison line while he was in there.
Yeah, right. Like I've seen that side of him with like the male gaze type of thing. I've never seen like if he whipped his dick out and started jerking off in this scene, it wouldn't feel out of place, except it would even more haunt my dreams forever than just what's going on right now. Like, rationalizing the Adam Sandler that I know with the Adam Sandler that I know obviously has to be able to be someone who can exist, right? Like, both in the space of him as a person and as an actor, was still shocking to the senses for me, right? Because It's like a piece of your childhood that's being scandalized.
Yeah. That was gross. It was real gross.
It was super gross, and it was like, it resonated because it's like, oh.
Well, yeah, even then, I mean, the movie, I almost thought that, some of the guys who thought he owed them money or whatever were going to intercept that or beat down the door. I mean, some of it to me was the not knowing what was going to happen next or anything like that. I didn't think she was just going to walk up unharmed and then they were going to hook up. I mean, that was the most furthest from my mind because he was already in the shit at that point. So
I agree. That seems like a major vulnerability that he left on top of the many other vulnerabilities we examined, and also on top of the fact that this is literally what's causing the dissolution of his marriage, right? You're right. That could have been a really good opportunity to have him by the balls, right? If someone, like, he wasn't exactly hiding it that well if his wife knew about it. Anyone, and he was being followed throughout the course of the movie.
Well, the apartment's registered in his name, so
that too.
Anybody could have caught him at that point in time. I was still nervous that they were gonna like just beat down the door, and he was thinking they could hook up with. So I don't know. It still had me at that point. Like I said, I want to give it a rewatch, but I think it was a great film, and you guys might think less so.
I've kind of been confused by Lakeith Stanfield. I feel like he's kind of a chameleon because I didn't even realize that was him for like most of the movie.
Oh, that's him.
I know, but like it's funny because we were just talking about like him being in Knives Out,
and he's just standing there
like 6 weeks ago, and I didn't even put two and two together that that's him. And there's like he's been in a couple other things too, where like every time I see him in something, I'm like, that guy's kind of familiar. Who is that? And I'm like, oh shit, that's Lakeith Stanfield. But I actually kind of liked that role. I thought that was interesting, that whole dynamic between him and Damani, because I didn't realize at first that he actually worked for him.
Right.
And then I realized that the scam that they're running together, like whether or not he quote unquote officially works with him, whatever, that whole thing, I was like, oh, this is like an interesting dynamic between the two of them. And then it's like, oh, like he's feeling himself and he's trying to take some of the power of this relationship, and it's because he doesn't respect him and it's not someone to be respected. I found that whole thing to be interesting.
Yeah.
I'm very curious what these two are going to do next.
Are you?
Yeah, only because I'm like, if you like, I'm not gonna see it. I would probably read up on it when it comes out. But like, if is it gonna be shitty people and then a character getting it again in the end? Like, fool me. At the same time, the same good time. And this, I feel like we kind of went through it already. It's a similar thing happening. It's nothing new. It's a little bit more polished, I think. But other than that, it's just kind of blah. It just didn't really, it didn't land for me. And I think there's just too much praise for it, holding it up to a level that I don't think it's nearly close to. I do think that they could get there, but I don't know that they're going to get the criticism they need to do it.
Well, I mean, if you look at the two movies in a vacuum, of course, that's how you're going to feel. But if you look at the landscape in 2019 and 2017 and the movies that actually came out that year, comparatively, I think we need something like this. And even going back to like 70s New York films like Dog Day Afternoon and something like that, nobody was telling them that, oh, your product is not finished enough. Like they were just making what they were making. And I think this movie is just an example of that. Two guys doing a thing and they lucked out and they got Adam Sandler, and that's fucking awesome.
I guess I just don't understand the runaway praise is what my problem.
I agree, because I get what you're saying, Gary, and I don't disagree. The polish versus the unpolished, that this is like finished and well conceived and like fully realized or not. And I did feel like this was more fully realized than Good Time was, which even more confuses to me why the praise was. To a certain extent, and I'm glad that you mentioned the thing about like some of those movies in the 70s or movies about the 70s, because sometimes by design they show those rough edges. To a certain extent, as we're talking through this movie kind of reminds me, when you talk about the scale and the level of the movie and like the idea of like kind of an auteur doing something like off on their own, like they're just going to do their own thing. They don't care how much money it makes. They don't care about any of those factors. They're just going to set out to realize their vision. This movie reminds me a little bit of a movie that me and Anthony love, that is sort of what you're saying about, oh, let's do something small, the snapshot of something very specific involving shitty people, and maybe you don't root for any of them. Do you know the movie I'm talking about?
I'm assuming you're talking about Death of Stalin.
No, I was talking about Free Fire.
Oh, God, Free Fire is so good.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking The Town.
No.
I'm always thinking The Town.
No, that was a much bigger movie than any of the three.
No, you're right.
I'm always thinking The Town.
Ed, you get where I'm getting at with this?
Yeah.
Like, that's an example of how to do this sort of movie, where you want to tell this really small, specific story about these complex dealings about the people, not exactly on the up and up, right? And they're mostly shitty people, and by the end of it, you're like, oh, wow. At first, maybe you're like, oh, I want to root for this person, that person, not whatever. By the end, you're like, oh, I can't really root for any of them. Like, they're all pretty bad. And a lot of them end up dying or getting what they deserve. And it's like, that movie was compelling, but it was good and interesting and balanced in all of it, despite dealing with really shitty people. And there was really nothing super redeeming in that movie either, but it still managed to balance itself. There's nobility amongst the
I would argue that movie gave us Hammer Cavill, which was super appealing.
Well, of course, yes. It did literally create the hashtag Hammer Cavill that accompanies all of our episodes on Twitter. Did you see that movie, Gary?
I did. I wasn't a fan.
That's funny that you love these two movies and don't like that movie.
I know.
Don't like these two movies. That is a weird dynamic that I wish I could explain, and I do not have an ability to.
That just seemed like more of a studio sort of deal, like Bad Times with the
Not a studio deal. It was an A24 movie.
Yeah. Same production company, right?
No, you're right. It just seemed bigger with Topher Grace and Evans and...
No.
No? Okay.
None of those people were in that movie.
No?
No.
I want to know what movie he's thinking about.
Yeah, because you're thinking of a different movie than we are, because those people are not in this movie. No, it had Sharlto Copley and Cillian Murphy and Armie Hammer and Brie Larson.
Oh, that's why I thought Chris Evans, Armie Hammer.
No, Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill is the connection.
Okay. Well, that's probably...
What movie are you talking about?
No, you guys are right. I just confused in my mind Chris Evans and Henry Cavill. Or not Henry Cavill.
What is happening right now?
I don't know. We were doing great for a while. We're going on like 3 hours on the recording here.
Well, that's all for this week's episode of Flix and a Six. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, if you have a movie for us to review or nuggets for us to discuss, you can send those requests to flixandasix@spinchoon.com or tweet us at the Spinchoon. Tune in next week for more movie and beer goodness. Until then, I'm Anthony Costanzo.
You'll see.
I was very drunk when I saw that movie. I'll have you know. I'm Gary Garecki.
Thanks for coming out. Mando Watch. This is the season finale. This is the dramatic end of the first season. Man, again, I've been saying it since episode 1 of The Mandalorian. The show is just so much fun. It's so entertaining.
Fun is a great word for it.
I have spoken.
And the last word was spoken on the life and death of Quill, unfortunately.
Oh, that was the episode prior.
Well, no, but like we weren't 100% sure he was dead until the beginning of the episode.
This is the one that we got. Oh yeah, so this is the one where we get the tremendous scene of the 2 stormtroopers chatting for 10 minutes.
It felt like 10 minutes. It got into Family Guy. This joke is going on too long. The payoff ended up being great. But I actually do think they maybe should have just tightened slightly.
He killed.
But in general, what's that?
He killed the guy for interrupting.
Yeah, no, but overall, there was some really strong bits to it. Their whole interplay was great. I love that it's Jason Sudeikis because it was just classic Jason Sudeikis.
Mm-hmm.
The whole argument was really great. You just want to see the thing, don't you?
Yeah.
No, I just you just want to see it. Yeah, like you said. Hey, should we come now? Yeah, he just killed the guy for interrupting. So okay, we'll hold.
The best part about it was me thinking that scene was over, and then them slowly pulling back on the camera, and then one of them taking their blaster out and trying to shoot the can.
It kind of went again to that thing that we talked about a few weeks ago with, is the joke about stormtroopers not being able to hit anything as funny if they're in on the joke? But the look of where he's just looking at the gun it's how?
There's something wrong with the gun.
Yeah. No, that actually kind of brought it around for me.
That, and I think it would have been, if it was just him doing it, then I feel like it would have fallen a little flat. But then the other guy misses too, and it's so good.
Yeah.
And when he punches the little Yoda on the head, I was very angry.
Oh, absolutely. Visceral.
I was getting pissed. And real pissed. Do the hand thing.
That was so great at the end. Make him do the magic hand thing. And he waves his hand and Baby Yoda just waves at him.
So good. I would watch that scene over and over again.
I love IG-11 coming in and fucking shit up. Just broke his arm. I was like, oh god.
So good. So good. The also I was a little bummed at the at losing the character, the blowing up of the character
again.
Yeah. It's just we have a band of heroes, and then they were all gonna go our separate ways.
I know. I was so disappointed about it. I was like, "What do you mean? We just kicked ass? Everybody get on the ship and let's have adventures in the fucking galaxy together."
Right. I love this ragtag group.
Which I imagine will happen, right? But like,
Yeah,
I guess
they'll
it's just
sync
they don't
up.
want to make them series regulars, right? Like they'll come back for their episode or 3 when like the time comes.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, I'm like, fuck no, man! I want to see the adventures of Cara Cynthia and Grief and fucking Mando and Baby Yoda and IG-11, and they're just cruising the galaxy, getting into fucking hijinks. You know what it is? It's Archer in space, but better than what they actually did. And I actually like the new season, Archer 1999. It's just that again, like these fucking guys going out and doing shit, except like actually trying to do good instead of like doing stuff purely for money. Like you know they're gonna end up doing things more likely good than not, or like similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? What do you want to do? Something good, something bad, a little bit of both. Like I feel like it's gonna be that dynamic to a certain extent. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love that dynamic. I wanted to see more of it, although I do appreciate the parallel storytelling of, you know, him insisting on self-destructing and then him nobly insisting on self-destructing and actually paying off that Chekhov's thermal detonator.
Can we start using that as the phrase?
What, Chekhov's thermal detonator?
Yeah. I like that.
Also, I was not expecting how badass of an action scene that would be, him riding on a fucking speeder bike shooting up everything.
That was so cool. It was so much. Oh, it was so much fun. I don't know how else to describe it.
I was gonna say again, bringing back the parallel of Star Wars meets John Wick, because that felt like a John Wick. It's just on steroids because it's lasers and it's super fast instead of on a horse.
Absolutely. Oh man, the why can't I think of his name?
IG-11.
Nope.
Moff Gideon.
Character. Yeah, thank you, Moff Gideon. It was like that weird thing of like I knew he was going to be in the show, and then he wasn't in the show for a long time, and then it's the end. I'm like, I guess he's going to be in the next season more, and then you get the 2 episodes. I wanted a little bit more of the character, but overall they didn't progress the story much, and that was like one of the issues, which is fine, because the as one-off episodes they are fun. Like you can go on Disney Plus, pick a random one and enjoy it, like by itself. It doesn't need anything else, and that I feel like that's more how it was made for like rewatchability. I
definitely panicked after episode 6. It's like, oh my god, the future of the show is just we're gonna just keep doing these fucking one-off episodes. Going back now, like my panic is diminished. I still would have traded one of those one-off episodes for more story. Like I'm good. I was good with 2. 3 just felt like too many. Like I wanted it to be more substantially, and who knows? Maybe next season there will be.
If you think about Rebels, right? Because like in Rebels, I feel like there's a lot of shows that are just one off, and like a little bit of stuff is happening, but there's like maybe I don't know 6 episodes a season that are like core story that like really tie it all together. And while the other episodes have a nice little bit of like the little additions to it, they're mostly throwaway.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, the other thing is like each season was like 20 episodes, so it was like
right, and that's why it's different.
You got 6 that were hardcore story, you got 6 that were throwaway, and then a bunch of them that were a mix of the 2.
Yeah.
So it just felt better balanced overall. But the thing is, like looking back now, if I know, okay, next season's going to be 8 episodes, there's going to be roughly 4. There's going to be roughly 5, say, that is hardcore story, and 3 that's one off. I'm good. Like I'll know that that's what to expect next season. I won't get that anxiety, right? Like now, episode 5 I thought was pretty substantially the weakest of them, the one on Tatooine. I thought 4 was pretty strong, and it was important because it introduced Cara, and I thought 6 was really good, and we get the tease at the end that those characters are likely to come back at some point. So I thought 5. Now 5 also ended with that little thing at the end. So you listen to the Rule of 2 episode. I love Freddy's theory that it might be Cad Bane. I don't know if it's anywhere near true. I love that because it didn't ever cross my mind. I've been stuck on everyone theorizing it's Boba Fett, and I'm just hoping against hope that it's not. So.
Yeah, I hope it's not also. There's no. I feel like while if you wanted to introduce him back in this space, that would probably make sense to do him, like to bring him here.
Let the past die. Yeah, and considering he's actually dead and doesn't have the Force.
But so I don't really. I wouldn't be terribly offended. I just think it would be more fun to be somebody else.
Like anyone else.
It's Wicket.
You know who would be more interesting for it to be? It would be more interesting if we want to introduce other Mandalorians and Mandalorian adjacent people. Make it be fucking Sabine Wren for all I care.
That'd be cool.
I'm on board for that
Yeah.
because it ties up the loose end of where does her story go next.
Right. That would be awesome.
They haven't announced what the next animated show is, but I assume, or I damn sure hope that the next one they do is where the fuck is Ezra? You haven't finished Rebels yet, but
yeah, that's fine. One thing that I feel like they should have just kept his helmet on. I like what they did and what it was for the story of him like coming to term, like letting the droid end up helping him. I think that was actually really cool, an interesting character moment, and also the kind of fear that's going on his face when the helmet comes off, really good. But I was liking this idea of, this is the way, and I could have gotten behind never taking his helmet off.
Yeah, but it also made for a great liner. I'm not alive. I'm not a living being, whatever it was.
That was good. I agree. Also, the blacksmith, what was her name? I don't know if we ever got her. Wrecking people with a hammer. Like, that was insane.
2 hammers.
What a great scene, though.
It was, especially considering I was so confused by it the whole time. I was like, on the one hand, I was like, she seems really confused by if they all survived or not. Yet she has all the armor piled up. Shouldn't she be able to do the math? 2, how is she not dead if everyone else was killed and she got all the armor back? Because it's all here, you know what I mean? So I assume that they came into the Enclave and killed all of them. Though I don't know why they didn't just literally just jetpack out and escape after that fight was done, right?
Right.
Because, I was just confused, actually, by that. I think it was a little bit of a plot hole. Because if, you said, okay, they just ended up kind of losing that battle, right? Or it was a Pyrrhic victory. Mm-hmm. But they're like, oh, no, they just kind of went back to their business, and then the stormtroopers rolled in and killed them all. And it's like...
Yeah, tweak.
But they had the conversation on the battlefield. You're going to have to move the Enclave. Shouldn't that be done, right now? Not
run the battle server?
We'll get around to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of an emergency, right?
Let's go back to base and regroup. Or, and hear me out, we leave.
Now? That was confusing to me. How is she still just down there, literally just doing her job of melting down more Beskar? You know what I mean? How has no one found her yet?
A little strange.
Paid off with some really cool stuff, right? He got the Rising Phoenix. He got someone finally name dropped the Force and the Jedi. And then we got to watch her beat up a bunch of stormtroopers with hammers.
And then we get that final scene of the
final scene. We got a buff R2-D2.
That was actually really cool. That lava boat and the impending doom at the end of that tunnel was kind of cool. And then IG doing his very best Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2 of
I was watching that. I was like, oh my god, they just ripped it off, and I couldn't care less.
And after he exploded, if his hand went slowly down into the lava with his thumb up, I would have been like, you know what? Good for you. Good for
Actually, you know what would have been just his head was sinking down because it's just that big conical fucking. But yeah, it's funny too because, and I knew obviously a lot about the Eastern mysticism mythology that has gone into Star Wars since the very beginning. Did you read that article I sent you guys? I sent you and Mike and Dominic before Episode 9 came out about. It was written by, I think it was a person who was of Indian heritage, talking about Buddhism and Eastern mysticism and its reflection and its philosophies in Star Wars. I was like, oh, there was a lot of really cool stuff that I knew of it in the big picture, but there was specifics in there. I was like, oh wow, this is a really interesting to see how this is all inspired by that. But I was surprised by the idea of that Freddie Prinze Jr. was talking about in Amin's Rule of Two, talking about also Greek tragedy and that sort of stuff. Darth Maul as Sisyphus. I was like, oh my god, he's 100% correct. Never made that connection before. That's tremendous stuff. I got and this is before I heard that, but now it even actually strengthens more considering I'm sure it was a Filoni thing. The whole thing kind of felt like the Karen and the river Styx crossing over, right? Where they're leaving behind this old life and not moving into the afterlife, but into the next life of freedom, and it requires payment, and the payment is at the expense of IG-11, as they have a big ethereal boat rower. It actually fits to that mythology really closely, I thought that was pretty powerful. I don't know if you got that or if you get it now that I'm saying it.
Yeah.
You hear what you track what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that I forgot. You always send me these incredible things to read, and I always put them on my read later list. And then I feel like I go back to them at times that it's too late for me to comment back on. But I do appreciate.
No, you didn't have to comment back. I just figured now that I brought it up, if you had seen it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Be like, oh yeah, I did see it. Like, didn't need a comment so much as just like, oh yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I'm totally on board with what's going on here.
For sure. Oh crap.
Final encounter.
No, there was something else that popped into my head during that. It's gone. It's gone forever. Darksaber.
Wow. Oh my god.
That was cool.
The funny thing is, I was watching that episode with my parents. There's just the three of us watching it. Because my dad's been fully on board, and somehow my mom has gotten on board over the course of the show. At least 60% because of Baby Yoda.
Fair enough. And
my dad was half asleep. My mom was watching, but she she understands fighting in a TIE fighter and all that sort of stuff, right? Not when he crashed, I was like, okay, there's no way he died. And she goes, that would seem weird for him to she's like, well, first of all, who's that? Mom, it's Gus Fring. Who's Gus Fring? Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Oh, that's Gus? Because she never saw the show, but she just knows of the big picture stuff. Because the funny thing is, when I was watching it, she would see me over my shoulder occasionally, or I'd be she would see half an episode or an episode, because I was watching this when it was on when it first popped on Netflix when the final season was coming up. So every once in a while I'd be 4 episodes ahead, and she's like, oh, what happened between then? I'm like, do you want to watch it? No, just tell me what happened. So she knows the whole show, but didn't see most of it. So it was oh, it's Gus Fring. Oh, okay. And she's like, you're right. That would be weird for him to just be killed off there. That can't be the end. That's just not how. And then the fucking Darksaber pops out of the hull of the TIE fighter, and I was like, oh my god, it's the fucking Darksaber! And literally yelled. It literally woke up my dad, and he's has no idea what's going on. And my mom's like, the what? I was the Darksaber. Don't worry about it.
It's important. Just say ooh.
Yes. She's like, I mean, it's cool. It's a black lightsaber. I was like, honestly, that's enough. That's really all you gotta know. But it's super important.
I remembered what I was gonna say before that was Freddie said.
Did you look up that clip Freddie mentioned?
Which clip?
The clip when he was in that episode. I've seen it before because I watched all of Clone Wars, but it's been a while since I saw it, so I literally paused the show, looked up the clip of Pre Vizsla fighting with Darth Maul.
No, I didn't watch it.
I'll send it to you. It's badass.
He had made this comment about Yoda, and all of them are Yoda, and I don't.
That was definitely a joke.
Was that a joke?
Yes.
I thought he was I thought maybe he knew something that he was then realizing that he's not really allowed to talk about.
No, I'm 95% sure that was a joke.
Oh, okay. All right. That was just me. I was just curious what that was.
No, it's totally fair. No, but on top of that, Jon Favreau came out, they interviewed him at the Golden Globes, and he's
a name or something. Right.
Well, two things. The confirmed name, Taika Waititi says he knows the name. Someone asked him what the name was, and I think he said Fred. No, but then they asked him, and he's like, okay, I get why everyone is calling him Baby Yoda. Totally get it. We've been referring to him as a child. I get that that's not as catchy. He goes, it isn't Yoda. Just think about the timeline. It's 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Yoda's been dead for at least 5 years. It's not Yoda.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say, and this is me speaking now, that it couldn't be a clone of Yoda.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that he's Yoda, but the joke, I meant, I thought, there could be this thing about, that's what we're calling their species, and he was Master Yoda, as in, the master of that, the Jedi master of that species.
No, but we know that other one's name is Yaddle.
Right, but I'm saying, like, he's the Master Yoda. That's what I was getting at. No, and that's what I was wondering.
His name is like a double entendre?
No, maybe he has a name that we actually don't know. That's what I was kind of getting at.
We know another one of them has another name, so...
Yeah, but he was the Master Yoda.
Yeah.
He's Yaddle the Yoda, and he's the Master Yoda.
Oh, that's also, that's two Mario, Luigi, Mario for me. You might not have caught it because that's the only one you've listened to, right? I think you'd actually like all of them. But that's the only one. They mentioned it at one point. But in other episodes, they were using it much more. Amin coined the name Yiddy for Baby Yoda. Nice. He goes, we have Yoda and we have Yaddle, so we need to keep with that naming convention. Let's go with Yiddy. It's like the one that him and Pablo did, the first one. Like they said it 1,000,000 times.
That's great. Yeah, overall, like I said, a lot of fun with the series. I'm very, very much looking forward to season 2. And I will probably be rewatching a handful of these episodes, like here and there, just throwing them on.
What's that?
I'll probably be rewatching a few of the episodes. Like,
oh, really? I could see it. I'll probably rewatch this when the next season's coming out.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Or at least, like, I'll rewatch parts of it and, like, those final 2, you know what I mean? Like,
anyway, I just want to listen to the music every once in a while.
Oh, yeah. It's cool because it's, like, both very not Star Wars and yet also perfectly Star Wars, which I don't understand how that makes sense, but it does to me. Back to the scene with IG-11, like, rolling through town, the face that the child makes of pure
delight,
elation.
Yeah.
As he's just like, and the wind is blowing back his hair and his ears. Of all the adorable shots of him, that is like the hands down win.
That one is the way.
Absolutely. I thought that what Freddie said was really interesting about the Darksaber, about Moff Gideon having it. Like, you just know that. Also, can we talk about the fact that we know his name now? We know Mando's name.
Oh yeah, what was his name?
I think it was Din Djarin.
Yeah, I don't remember. It was something that I couldn't fully hear, but it was
definitely D something and then DJ something, and I saw the spelling. I think it's Din Djarin. That ultimately it's going to have to, because the Darksaber, since after it had been originally constructed by Tar Vizsla, has always been a sign for the Mandalorian since they reclaimed it from the Jedi. That whoever has it is the Mandalorian, which there's an apostrophe in there somewhere.
Yep.
Or the Mandalore, I think it was, right? Who is the leader of Mandalore. Yep. It's taken by force, a la like the Elder Wand in Harry Potter. And it signifies who is the leader, and Moff Gideon considers himself the leader, whether or not he's gained it properly. You know that it's going to come down to a conversation eventually, right? Where Din will probably have to defeat him and take it, right?
Absolutely.
Although, I wonder...
Sabine. He dies and Sabine somehow gets it, and now we have a story with her.
Well, so you didn't finish Rebels yet, but Sabine had it at one point, and she gives it up willingly to who she thought should be the willing leader. But Gideon having it likely means that the person she gave it to is dead. Mm-hmm. I won't tell you who that person is.
Okay.
But no, what I was going to say is we don't know how much time will pass the course of the show. Is it possible, I'm just theorizing here, could Din ultimately die, and in the process, the child gets that? It doesn't need to construct them a lightsaber. That's the lightsaber the child gets. And he is now officially a Mandalorian.
Yes!
Because he's been officially adopted by Din. Din is his guardian.
Oh my
He is now part of the people. He's part of the way. Will the leader of Mandalore eventually be the child?
This is the way.
This is the way.
Oh my god.
Right? Tell me this is not the way.
So good. That's it. No, that's it. We're leaving on that. That's season 4 of The Mandalorian. We got it.
Mic drop, bitches.
See you next week.